Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Knicks hurry to the other end. Shamet unloads a three. Rebound, Matthew, and time runs out. And the crowd roaring its approval as the Pacers take a 3-1 lead. What I was about to say is this. Mathurin's played splendid. He's clearly the Kroger performance of the game. But the Pacers played so well tonight, there are at least others you could discuss.
Yeah, Pacers Radio Network. Tyrese Haliburton, who has taken over this series and is putting his stamp on it in a historic way with a triple-double. But most importantly, Pearl, no turnovers in this game. The Knicks could not force Tyrese Haliburton into any bad decisions, and they couldn't take advantage in any way. Yep. Welcome to the show, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Some sour faces on the other side of the glass. Series not over yet, but obviously the Pacers in control. What was the biggest takeaway for you last night?
Well, the Pacers, the last game, played the Knicks' pace. This game, they played their pace. I don't know exactly how the Knicks could have slowed them down, but once it starts moving fast, forget it. The Knicks have no chance. They have no depth. There's no way that Jalen Brunson and Cat aren't going to wear down by the fourth quarter. Zero. It was going way too fast. They slowed it down a little bit in the fourth quarter because of all the fouls. But this is a series of pace. We said it coming in. Knicks needed slow, and last night was not slow by any means. It felt like the game was flying all night long.
No, and it started from the very beginning where the Knicks defense allowed 43 points in the first quarter when they had allowed only 42 points in the first half in the last game. So, yes, and putting 130 on the board is not where the Knicks wanted to be for the Pacers. You know, here's one of the other things that happened here was the Pacers at times were able to go on some of their signature runs, right? They were able to put some distance anytime the Knicks even seemed like they were going to, once that, a 13-point lead, I believe, happened late in the first half. To credit to the Knicks, they cut it to 6, I think even at 5 at one point, but had it as a 2-possession game at a couple different times late. But the problem was twofold. One, the foul calls. And some were their fault and some were not their fault. And I know complaining about the officials is like the old hat, but there were some bad calls. Even when Reggie Miller is calling out bad calls that were going against the Knicks, then you know that your referees are not having a great day. And then I thought the other part was, the defense. The Knicks defense just could not get a stop when they needed to. I don't know why. Jalen Brunson 1 for 3 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter. Karl Anthony Towns 1 for 3 field goal attempts. Neither guys even attempted a 3-pointer. Both ended the fourth quarter with 2 points in a game that was about. So credit Indiana for that.
How much was Brunson on the court? They've been in this new. Well, actually, he did play last night's fourth quarter, but he's not playing 45 minutes a game anymore. So I understand what you're saying.
Played
but
8 minutes in the fourth quarter.
I feel like he sat out and then he never sort of got himself back into the mix. The foul thing, the Knicks did get to the line 40 times. They were at the line both teams wore down and were just reaching on every single play. But the officials had no idea what to do last night. Did you sense that?
Yes.
I had no idea what was going on. Some of the calls, you're right, the Knicks got screwed on some touch fouls that were barely even touch fouls. But let's face it, the Knicks are not a great team. I mean, they're not.
The Pacers a great team either.
They're a good team, and the Knicks just have. Look at the Knicks bench. Who are they supposed to go to? Right. I mean, first of all, you have two
if you want the actual answer.
You have
Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, and Delon Wright.
Who's an average? I mean, look at what's waiting in the next round for either of these teams. They have a starting 5 in their bench. I just think that the Knicks do not have any. There's nowhere to turn. I mean, the Cat and Brunson can't play defense. We know that. I mean. So who are you going to bring in? They brought in Delon Wright and Landry Shamet. That's not an Eastern Conference final level bench.
Okay, so I think, and I don't want to make this just a Knicks thing, but obviously we got our two guys over here who are hurting right now, and we want to give Indiana all the flowers in the world about the fact that they're on the brink of getting back to the finals. And it's become Tyrese Haliburton's he went from being voted most overrated player by The Athletic, a player poll, to now the guy is unconscious and he's just playing out of his mind and dictating tempo. And, at least last night was almost perfect, did not make mistakes. But as far as the Knicks are concerned, I can understand, first of all, you had a little bit of a gift because no one thought they were going to beat the Celtics. And then the Celtics get hurt and you end up steamrolling them and kind of walking over them in a way that made you start to believe, yeah, this starting 5 actually is good enough to be a finals team.
The starting five, maybe.
But you take out the defending champs, even a hobbled defending champs, and you start to believe. And I think if you just matched it up on paper, I don't think that, you're going star for star or what have you.
Right.
I think you'd say the Knicks are right there. So
But
I think
what
that's
happened
why
last
they're
year?
so disappointed.
What happened last year with the Knicks and Pacers?
They got hurt. The Knicks got
They
hurt.
wear down. What happened? You don't think the Knicks are hurting right now?
Well, Karl Anthony Towns' knee is definitely an
And you
issue.
called that knee injury 3 games ago. He's wearing down. You don't think Brunson looks tired? I mean, how many little flip-a-doos are you going to hit in one series?
Flip-a-doos.
That's what I would call him. He missed it last night. But there's a certain point where if you handle the ball for 42 minutes a game, you're going to wear down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks are just not deep enough, and I said this coming in, to last a 7-game series against a team with real depth. And the Pacers bench was awesome last night. They could barely miss.
Yeah.
So I just think that's the story of the series. They had to get him early. They had to knock him out in the early. So they kind of lost this series. If they lose a series, it's not over.
It's not over.
They
3-1.
probably lost it in that brutal game 1.
Oh, I mean, that was a game we're gonna remember for a long time. Okay, so 2 other things. I was very surprised. We can talk about strategy until we're all blue in the face. You want to talk about it? Let's go. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. You want to talk about referees. You want to talk about Knicks' Ole defense. You want to talk about any of that stuff. That's fine. One of the things I was really surprised by is I'm reading all the post-game quotes and, all the post-game stuff this morning as I'm getting caught up on the, because I went to bed when the game ended, but all the post-game stuff's coming out. Intensity. It was like that's what the Knicks players kept coming back to. We weren't intense. We weren't aggressive. At one point, I thought the refs were actually calling this like a boxing match sometimes where boxing judges will just reward the more aggressive boxer, even if they're not technically the better boxer.
Yeah.
And the intensity part of it was a little surprising to me that that's what they all pointed to. And I think they're basically saying defense, right? That's, I think, the code. But the intensity part not showing up, that's what they were saying, the players themselves. Maybe they're trying to misdirection. Maybe they're trying to take ownership. Maybe it's just something that athletes say. But every guy to a man, it was OG, it was Hart, it was Towns, it was Brunson. They all said the same thing. Some version of, we weren't the more aggressive team. We didn't have the intensity. We didn't want it more than they did. And I'm like, that's crazy. Right.
Yeah.
It stood out
It's talent.
to me.
I mean, I think it's they just don't have the dudes. You honestly think this group of the Knicks is not intense enough? Which player are they referring to?
Well, that's why I'm like, you guys, that's your thing. You're the more intense team. Okay, let's hear from Mikal Bridges, of course, from the Knicks, said the team didn't play hard enough, and obviously he feels like he let the team down. He didn't have a great night.
I feel like he just played hard on us. I didn't play my best game, and I feel like on both ends, just let my team down a little bit, but we just kept fighting. They came out more fire.
And which is weird because, the Knicks have the glitz and the glamour of the celebrities and stuff like that, but this is not a glitzy team. This is a gritty team, right? This is supposed to be Jalen Brunson as the underdog, the 2nd-round pick that nobody, the Mavs got rid of him. Yeah, Towns is the number 1 overall pick. Maybe that's not fit, but OG Anunoby, these are the guys who are doing the dirty work out there. That's what they're supposed to be. So for them to come out and get out hustled by Indiana is a terrible, terrible look for them. And then the second thing on top of that.
Do you thought they got out hustled?
I thought that there were times when, we're talking about calls. I did think that the Pacers were the more aggressive team in the fourth quarter for sure. You just think that's total BS.
I don't know if it was out hustled. I mean, the Knicks won the fourth quarter. I just think I'm not that to me that is not the story of the game. Maybe I'm not seeing. I just don't. I think it's definitely the Knicks are exhausted. I mean, did you see it? You don't think Jalen Brunson is worn down? And maybe is he the one who's not hustling? Who's name the name that's not hustling? And Mikal, I don't think it's Bridges. I just think Bridges took some bad shots. I mean, he did hit 4 or 5 threes, which is unbelievable, by the way. And I think that the Knicks were ooh, maybe we have something here. No, I don't see that at all. But I'm sorry, please go.
No,
go ahead.
I think I'm kind of believing them when they feel like that's what's wrong, but maybe that's also an easy thing for them to point to because it's something you can fix. Well, are you calling out the coach? Are you calling out the rotations, which still feel like they're just up in the air as you're hearing Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals? And by the way, you're hearing Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. usually when lineup changes, like big ones happen, it's because of injury. It's because teams are scrambling, right? Jason Tatum goes down. So now we got to switch up doing things the way that we'd been doing them all year if you're the Boston Celtics, something like that. Everyone's healthy for New York. I don't know about Karl Anthony Towns' knee now, but going into 2 games ago, everyone was healthy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think they're thin. Like, they don't, obviously, Tibbs doesn't trust his bench guys. Even Deuce McBride, who is he the number 1 bench guy? He won't play him very much. I mean, they killed him on the glass. Like, isn't that the one hustle sign? They destroyed them on the, how many offensive rebounds do the Knicks have?
13.
Yeah, I mean, they beat him on the glass by, it felt like at least a dozen rebounds. I'm not sure. Hustle, I think the shot making, listen, you have 2 great offensive players who can't play defense, and you have some good defensive players who are not consistent on offense. I think it's a team construction thing. But
okay.
I think you're short, and I think you took your big swing last offseason for Mikal Bridges, and that swing came up short.
And Towns.
Yeah, well, right. Towns was gifted to you, but you gave up all your assets for Bridges.
Right.
And, we sort of started, we were saying something in the hall, like, I don't know that there's a path for this team to get much better. They gave up all the first-round picks for Bridges, and this is the team they put together, and it's just not enough.
So that was going to lead me to my other point, which is, now again, series not over, but if it goes this way, and let's say that the Pacers win this series and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, are the Knicks going to be one of the teams that is really going to either get in the Giannis, pursuit? Shams Charania, we're going to play the sound for you a little bit later, but I'll just paraphrase it. Shams Charania, the number 1 insider for the NBA, said this is going to be like an unprecedented offseason as far as player movement is concerned. And if the Knicks lose this series, and if it continues to look like, well, listen, the first 2 games were ridiculous, but if it feels like it's roster construction, which you just said, the Knicks now are an attractive place. They were not attractive for many, many years, despite the market size.
Right.
So is this a situation where the Knicks are, flipping Cat? Are they trying to do anything? They don't have a lot of draft picks because they gave them up for Mikal Bridges. But, is this where New York tries to flex the muscle of, hey, we can lure Giannis because he might want to come to a big market?
Well, yeah, but the Bucks
have to play ball.
They have to play ball, and it feels to me like there's going to be much better offers. But the other thing too, if you give up OG and Cat, I mean, you're going to get Giannis when you're worried about your depth and your sustainability health wise. Can you see Brunson and Giannis? How long is that going to last before that duo breaks down? I don't think that that's a realistic. If I'm the Bucks, there's so many better offers. There's so many more teams with draft picks.
So you run it back with the same crew.
You have no choice. That's what I said. I thought the Knicks fans over there correct me if I'm wrong. You kind of shot your shot with Mikal Bridges.
Well, then you can change the coach.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It's pretty amazing that a coach can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I felt like after last night's game, I'm like, wow, is Tom Thibodeau watch back on? That came into my mind.
All right, EJ. Well, Manny is still, I think, in mourning. You're wearing all black today. It's like you're at a funeral. The series not over. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
But this just in. Josh Hart just got backdoor cut again. Anybody see that? It's 6:13. The Pacers are running more backdoor cuts. Josh Hart's still asleep.
You blame it all on Hart?
I blame a lot of that game on Hart. I think that's what you guys missed, because you're asking about why was the pace so bad? Why are they talking about energy? And those things are important, but you just can't turn the ball over 17 times.
Oh, the turnovers are brutal.
And I mean, and some of these turnovers are
terrible.
They're pick sixes. It's not even a turnover where it's a dead ball turnover. It's a turnover where you're just handing them the ball and they're going in and they're getting layups and they're getting threes.
It was 20 points off turnovers for the Pacers last night.
Yeah. That's
by the way, the non Tyrese Haliburton Pacers threw the ball all over the court too.
Oh, sloppy,
but they play, and I'm not trying to take away from they play, but they do play a faster pace.
Right.
They're willing to live with some of those turnovers.
They want that. They'd rather take a bad 3 and keep the pace going.
Right. Exactly.
They were chucking up, like, they missed 5 shots in a row at a lot of points, but they were happy because the ball was moving so fast. The Knicks played right into their game.
I think the problem is there's 2 guys on this team from Villanova, and I don't know if either of them are really making much of an impact anymore.
Oh,
and I hate to just slam Villanova, but I'm not talking about Brunson.
You blaming Philly for this?
Well, not Philly. I have no issue with Philly, unlike most people would believe. I actually like Philly. No, but I mean, Mikal Bridges, you came here to be a defender, and Tyrese Haliburton is eating your lunch. I mean, he's going to send a limo to Mikal Bridges' house or apartment to make sure he gets a Madison Square Garden, because he is frying that man. I mean, he has no chance. You see the way Neesmith gets over screens and how he is refusing.
Neesmith's
I know
amazing.
Stan McGunny will never shut up about it, but it is important. Like, he will not allow the Knicks to get off of switches or find a way to where he's not guarding Brunson. And then you watch Mikal Bridges guard Tyrese Haliburton, and he has basically the size of the Hudson River between him and Haliburton.
Yeah, I was just
going
to say,
space.
I didn't even know Bridges was covering Haliburton. I'm looking at the Haliburton highlights. There's no Bridges in there.
And if Bridges,
there's no anybody in there. Haliburton had a triple-double last night.
He was just running around, and
And Bridges wants to, and then he refuses to take layups. It's like every time he gets around, they threw a ball on a fast break, and he pulled out, and then took a 15-foot fadeaway instead of taking a layup. I mean, those two guys, between Bridges' lack of defense and lack of offensive input, and then Josh Hart just throwing mind-numbing turnovers, and his defensive slippage it's unbelievable. I mean, he was killing them last night. And then you have a head coach who is not coaching the game in front of him. Yeah. The game was telling him Josh Hart has to be glued to the bench because they're killing him defensively. Put in Deuce McBride, who's a better defender and a better offensive player, and maybe give yourself a chance, and he wouldn't do it. So between those two Villanova guys and the head coach, those guys are killing the Knicks right now.
Okay, so this is what I'm hearing from both of you. You said, Perloff, you were joking. You said, well, you're going to blame Philly now? But maybe. And here's what I mean by that. Is this a relationship situation that's winning out over a basketball situation? And by that, I'm not just talking about the Villanova connection, right? They jettisoned DiVincenzo. No problem doing that to get Towns. I understand it. That's smart. But you've got Bridges, who they overpaid for because they thought it'd be like the chemistry and, what he brings to the table. But they definitely overpaid. And you've got Hart, and the loyalty to them maybe impacted what you saw in the game last night. And then I'll take it a step further. Mm-hmm. Is this also going to be the architect of the Knicks? So now we're getting second level. His name's Leon Rose. He was a really famous sports agent for a long, long time and is now running the Knicks. And he has got a connection to the Brunsons because Daddy Brunson was his first client. So he's now on the bench. And he's got this connection to Tibbs. And is the loyalty factor there going to impact what this team might actually need, which might be Michael Malone or might be somebody else, and maybe Tibbs has run its course, and I don't know.
Well, it's so funny. This is such a New York thing. Killing the coach after getting to the Eastern Conference Finals with sort of a meh bench. I mean, at best.
Well, but here's the weird thing.
Yeah. He prefers it this way.
Yeah, he prefers, and also
But it's weird
look
because
at the
players.
The bench actually played well last game, and so you're like, did you even know what you had on the bench? Like maybe these guys could have been contributing in a better way.
Landry Shamet should not be playing in the conference finals. That doesn't make any sense.
Landry Shamet was a +6. DeLon Wright was a +11. Those guys came in, and guess what?
What was Deuce McBride?
They played defense.
What was Deuce McBride last night?
He played with the starters. That's why he had a -14, and he didn't play well. But he only played 15 minutes. My point, though, is that again, those guys play defense. Like, your team is getting barbecued on the Pacers in terms of their offense. Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright come in and they're getting steals, they're contesting shots, and all of a sudden they get back in the game in the second quarter. And then again, you go to the third quarter. What do? You say, we need more Josh Hart. I mean, Mitchell Robinson had like 100 offensive rebounds in the third quarter, and Tom Thibodeau watched that and said, I need more Josh Hart lack of defense and more Josh Hart turnovers. You get out there, buddy.
I didn't see Mitchell Robinson. Did he even play in the fourth quarter? I got to go back to the box score.
He did not play. He did not play in the fourth quarter. He had all five of his offensive rebounds were in this third quarter, which is why the Knicks got back in the game.
Yeah, Cat had a good third quarter. Yeah. Mitchell Robinson had a good third quarter.
I think you guys are overrating this roster a little bit. Like, this is not honestly not to call you out, EJ, but you thought they were going to get killed by the Celtics coming into the last series. They're just not, they're a little bit short for what we're talking. We're in the conference finals. We're in the Final Four. You look around. I mean, look at the teams in the West. I just don't think the Knicks have the guys.
But hold on one second. Yeah. You just said though, but they shot their shot this offseason. So
I think Bridges. I think they missed.
Right, but even you can't be like, well, now we're going to lower the expectation when.
Well, of course we lowered the expectation. Nobody had the Knicks going to the conference finals.
No, that's fine, but you also have to take advantage of the situation in front of you. We say this every year. Injuries always play into it, and this time it was the injuries with the Celtics, right? And so kind of, and maybe the Celtics ran out of gas. A title defense is really hard. Lots of parity, all that stuff. Knicks had these great comebacks in those series too. They were a great road team they have been. Right. So I can't let the Knicks off the hook there.
Really? I feel like they're overachieving. I think I see this team way differently than you guys because I mean, Brunson's 6'2", and he's trying his best out there.
Do you think the Pacers, though, are...
I thought, I kind of thought, I'm like, oh, this is an incredibly even series. It has been. But if it goes longer, obviously the Pacers are going to wear down the Knicks. I think I said that. I mean, and I don't think that was a hot take. Like, if this went 7 games, the Pacers have 10 guys, the Knicks have 5 guys.
Okay, I want to let people get in on this. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We're going to let Manny collect his thoughts. Quickly, Brad is in Oregon. Brad, you have a thought on Tom Thibodeau and what was he doing last night? Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, guys. First of all, Maggie, I disagree with you. I think this series is over with. If Indiana
I'm just trying to
doesn't blow
cheer
that
these
third
two
game-
guys up.
If Indiana doesn't blow that third game, it's a sweep, and I can't see this Knick team winning 3 games in a row. So I think this series is over. Then I'm a Knick fan, so
yeah.
I'm just looking at it realistically. But the thing I can't understand is why he still had Brunson and Cat out there. The last 30 seconds, 25 seconds of the game, they were down 8-9 points. You don't want Cat to take another hit in that knee. You don't want Brunson to turn around and take an injury that's gonna hurt him some way. And yet Thibodeau doesn't get him out of the game. I think you're right.
When Carlisle pulled Haliburton,
Wait,
it was
by the
over.
way,
And actually, that was the only field goal that Jalen Brunson scored in the fourth quarter was like essentially whatever garbage time existed in this game, for like the last under a minute, or I think it was like a minute and change. That was the only field goal that Brunson had.
Pulling Haliburton with 25 seconds was legitimately insane. That was crazy. I'm like, what is happening here? Then they got it to within 7, and they had trouble inbounding the ball. They almost made it a 2-possession game with 15 seconds left. And you could see the Pacers starting to panic a little bit. I thought they were going to put Haliburton back in with 14 seconds left. I didn't understand that at all, by the way. Brad, I totally disagree with you. I thought a couple things. If they got one steal, boom, we're into foul shots, and this could have been a game.
Well, it could have been if they got it and stuff. But like Maggie said, Brunson was nowhere in the fourth quarter. I mean, it wasn't like he was having one of those come from behind games. Cat was definitely hurting with the knee. A couple times he took the hit in there. And I just think it's like Thibodeau just doesn't want to ever accept and wave the white flag.
Yeah.
I kind of get that one, though, Brad. And I know what you're saying. Like, Cat needed to sit down, but there was a desperate shot in the last 30 seconds, I thought.
Could have been. Again, like I said, I'm a Knicks fan, and I think it's time to move on from Thibodeau and see what else we can get out there. Thanks, guys.
Brad, appreciate you. Be safe out there.
Gosh, New York fans do not like this guy.
Even New York fans in Oregon. The
they do not like this guy.
Does not soften the expectations and also the outrage.
Outrage.
Well, if he coached the game he was in front of him and he used common sense, I think we wouldn't have so much frustration. I think Pearl is making great points. I mean, I think people know the Knicks don't have a great bench. People know the Knicks aren't a deep team. But the things that are controllable, like watching Josh Hart turn the ball over, make mistakes over and over again, and you don't make an adjustment, that hurts. Watching Mikal Bridges get fried defensively and not making an adjustment on Haliburton, whether it's putting someone else on him or throwing double teams at him. Like, Tibbs is totally fine coming in the game saying we would just lose playing the way I want to play.
Yeah, going down with the ship. Okay, you guys are welcome to this. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Not just from the Knicks side of things. If you want to cheer up our guys here, I don't know what would do that right now. But
a Knicks win in Game 5.
I say Tracy Morgan could walk into the studio and, kiss you guys on the forehead. Nothing's going to happen.
He's sad, too. It's not going to help.
Not going to help.
Can anyone do a Tracy Morgan impersonation? The easiest impersonation in the world?
No.
Somebody's getting pregnant.
There we go.
Somebody's going to get pregnant.
Lots more to do, including college football giving us quite a bit. We're used to complaining about coaches. We do it a lot in that sport, too. And you can weigh in on Tom Thibodeau. Should he be out, even though the team is in the Eastern Conference Finals? Crazy stuff. It's Maggie and Perloff Show. Don't move.
I'm in no mood.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
My old friend.
It's a dark day on the other side of the glass here, Maggie and Perloff Show. Welcome back. Manny looks like Kenny in South Park right now. Like you barely see his face. There's
hard to
a
see
dark
young
shade.
people like get calloused like this. Like I've been through it already. Like Bogusch even were we like trading Instagram messages? We were just like, what have the Bills done for you? Because his kid wished Josh Allen a happy birthday, and I'm like, well, prime's over, Like, I'm already calloused. Like, I still die a little bit when my teams lose, but not to the extent of, like, Manny and EJ.
I'm a little confused. What has happened to the expectations for the Knicks? I thought like everyone thought they were going to get swept by the Celtics, and now not getting to the finals is the great tragedy of their young lives.
It's called getting a second life. You got a gift here. You got by the Celtics. And we were talking about this yesterday, and EJ brought it up. You better get to Oklahoma City now. If you think they're going to be a dynasty, this could be the year when they're vulnerable, and whoever makes it to the finals, try to get your one now.
We're in the early 2000s of the NBA, where the West is about to rock the East for about 6 straight finals. Maybe Dwayne Wade and Shaq will get together. But this is setting up like the Pacers team to play the Shaq Kobe. Like this is it. This is the battle we're seeing here. Then it's on to the slaughter.
Okay.
Sorry to put that so candidly,
wow.
but I mean, I don't think anybody. I mean, listen, Andrew Nembhard, they are going to feast on that guy. Just let him open and just put everybody on Haliburton. It's going to be a much different series if Indiana advances to OKC.
Manny, is that the first Paul Simon, Art Garfunkel song you've ever heard?
It's the only one that I know.
Got it. They've got a couple other good ones.
I'm sure they do.
Okay. Bogusch is here. Headline.
For the record, I sent you my son's post wishing Josh Allen a happy birthday to say, see, Jake's on board. And your response was, just getting older and more expensive with nothing to show for it. So I wrote back, I can't believe Scott Norwood did this to you.
No, and I said, don't tell Jake that, though.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't want to break Jake's heart like yours is already broken.
Well, I'm just saying, these young people, you don't have the... Like, you just haven't been broken down enough yet, which is funny because you're a Giants fan, but, you've seen championships.
Josh Allen's 29. What am I missing here? He's got 11 more years of quality football. 11 years.
You're missing that he's a Bill.
Getting old.
He make him sound like he's Kirk Cousins.
Getting old.
And actually took a pretty team-friendly deal. But anyway, on to the headlines.
And all of it is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. The Knicks' next defensive stop will be their first of Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pacers had 102 points through 3 quarters. They shot 51% for the game. They hit 13 threes, and Tyrese Haliburton had 32 points and 15 assists without a turnover. Tom Thibodeau is supposed to know defense.
We knew it was going to be a fast game, so that was going to... the priority was, defensive transition to get set, but we hurt ourselves with our turnovers, putting them in the open floor.
17 Knick turnovers led to 20 Pacer points. The 130-121 final is the first win by the home team in this series. The Knicks now have to win Game 5 at home tomorrow to stay alive. Haliburton already shifting his focus to that one.
You can feel good about it for the night. But then you got to be ready to go for Game 5 because their backs are against the wall. They're going to play as desperate as they can, as they should.
But first, it's Game 5 tonight in OKC. First chance for the Thunder to close out the T-Wolves. The WNBA said yesterday it could not substantiate allegations of racist remarks directed at Angel Reese during a game in Indiana 11 days ago. The league says it interviewed players, team, and arena staff and reviewed audio and video recordings of the game, but could find nothing. Reese on the floor last night, 13 points, 15 rebounds, but she and the Sky remained winless, 94-89 in Phoenix. The Lynx, meanwhile, 5-0 after holding off Seattle 82-77, and the Liberty hammered the expansion Valkyries 95-67, Breanna Stewart scoring 24. On playoff ice last night, the Oilers are almost done with the Stars.
Bouchard showing one-timer, instead feeds McDavid. Left circle, Nugent-Hopkins drags in front. Tap-tone, Corey Perry. Power play goal. The Oilers regain the lead, 2-1.
That's Jack Michaels on Oilers Radio. Corey Perry's power play goal mid-second period ended up being the difference. Edmonton would win 4-1. Their third straight victory since dropping the opener. They have outscored Dallas over these last 3, 13-2. More Josh Allen mentions here.
Go Bills.
James Cook, a no-show for the Bills' voluntary OTAs as his contract squabble percolates. And Joey Bosa already hurt. It's a calf issue, and it'll keep him off the field until training camp, likely.
Bills.
And Josh Allen's old.
I think he's getting married this weekend.
Are you invited?
Yeah. I'm actually,
She's
I'm officiating the wedding.
Are we going to break down who's there and who's not? I wonder if that creates any kind of divide in the Bills locker room.
I mean, I don't know how anyone does this. Let's take Allen out of it. But how do any athletes do this? Because you basically have to invite the whole team,
especially
for a football team.
Yeah.
So that's just.
I feel like a lot of times they'll just sort of go off and do something quiet, or because of that very issue. That's a lot of people. You know, it's logistical nightmare.
It's got to be a nightmare, but it's not just the players, too. Think about how many coaches through the years, all the office staff. I mean, Josh Allen, think the janitor is MVP speech. Does he get an invite?
No.
I
that
bet
one
he
I feel
does.
comfortable saying no
And then
to.
are you flying everybody out? Do you put everybody up?
I'll bet it is only a few teammates.
And let's not
Because
forget
you
Shiloh.
can't do that. It's a huge roster.
If Shiloh
With wives.
Sanders ends up being there.
Where's the wedding? It's in the Northeast, right? I remember reading about this.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I do not think everybody makes the cut.
Maybe you do a party at the facility for everybody.
What? This isn't a
pizza in
Sweet
a movie?
16.
What? Yeah, huh?
You know, like, hey, everyone.
A party at the facility for a
everyone
NFL
else, and
player
then-
getting married.
Yeah, kind of.
What?
It's
almost
not a
elementary
quinceañera.
Yeah, it's like elementary school.
Yeah,
And
he's having a bar mitzvah.
Is his mom bringing in munchkins?
It's going to be on a Friday, and then everyone's got to get picked up and go home.
Nothing says romance like one Bills drive.
I don't know. Like, I think everyone gets invited.
I think you got to start just on your side of the ball for football. So we're only offensive players, and then you're like even scaling back.
You think
from
DeMar
there.
Hamlin's not getting invited?
I don't think so. I think that's the line you draw. No defense.
No.
I don't think any of those.
You got to invite DeMar Hamlin. The guy almost died on the field.
He has to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then
wedding.
if you're going to invite DeMar Hamlin, obviously he's got the credible story. But so you're not going to invite Greg Rousseau, and you're not going to fight Boogie. Like,
This is the problem.
I know.
Yeah, this is the price. Why I got to stop. No defense. I don't care who you are. No defense.
No, you got to bring DeMar Hamlin. Maybe not Von Miller, but DeMar Hamlin.
Vaughn's off the team now.
Exactly the
Goodbye.
reason.
Good riddance.
I mean, I just don't think this is possible logistically. You're talking about 150 people with just the team. Then there's everybody else.
And by the way, he's marrying this super famous actress.
Yeah, right.
Do you think that the Michael B. Jordan and all those guys are not getting invited to the wedding? You're out of your mind.
What were they in together?
Sinners. It's like,
That's right.
It's one of
she's
the
in
number
Sinners?
one movie right now.
You didn't know she was in Sinners? She's
No.
in like every commercial. She
No,
could do
I don't know
press-
much about her. What's her claim to fame?
She was an Oscar nominee when she was like 12.
That was
Yeah.
a good. She was great.
what?
And it was
True Grit, the remake of True
Oh, that
Grit.
movie stunk.
Incorrect.
Gosh.
True Grit? What was that?
Motion
Oh,
pictures.
True Grit. I did not like that. Who was the guy?
Was it Jeff Bridges? No, it was someone like Jeff Bridges.
Quaid or Bridges.
The original True Grit is awesome, but I was not
The
into that
original
movie.
True Grit is
I hate
John
everybody
Wayne.
named
John Wayne.
Bridges right
Yeah.
now.
Wait, who was that? We got to figure that out.
Manny's
Jeff
just burned
Bridges?
by Mikal Bridges.
I think it was Jeff Bridges.
Guys,
Oh,
she's
there's a-
like,
there's a-
Jeff Bridges.
And there's
Jeff
a Matt
Bridges,
Damon in there?
Matt Damon, Josh Brolin.
and she got nominated.
Yeah. And she was great at like 11. And then she's in some of the Transformers movies.
Yes, she's in Bumblebee. That was a big role for her. She's also the voice of Gwen Stacy in Into the Spider-Verse, and she's, of course, Hawkeye.
And she's been in a Pitch Perfect movie.
She also does music, too.
Yes.
Yeah,
She's a singer.
Okay, so we're talking about everyone in the Bills facility. By the way, and like
Ooh,
some
is Anna
teammates.
Kendrick going to be there? Now I want in.
Well, like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, she weighs like 45 pounds.
Okay.
You're attracted to Anna Kendrick?
Yeah, something about her.
What's wrong with Anna Kendrick? Jesus, that was a...
He doesn't like anything.
I know.
Nothing.
She's way too small in real life.
He is tiny.
Look
but
at me.
like,
I'm barely 5'10".
You're Quinn Ewers' doppelganger.
That does nothing for her.
Yeah, it's going to probably be like at 1,000-person wedding.
No, it's definitely not. That's impossible. They can't do it that way. They can't invite the team. And I just think, I had some tough cutbacks in my wedding list.
Yeah.
There's no way I can take the backup guard.
How will they ever afford it?
Oh, that's fair. Who's thinking about the bottom line here? It'd be funny if they just went to her parents and they're like, all right, so you got this? Like, what?
Would the Niners give him an extension too, like they did McCaffrey?
Maybe they did. They did give,
Oh,
they did give
float
Josh
him some
an
money.
extension.
They did actually.
Yeah, they did
gave
give
some
him money.
cash.
By the way, if you go back to that wedding, I'm pretty sure there's only offensive players at that one.
Well,
feel like I saw Fred
McCaffrey
Warner
just
there,
got
though.
there.
No.
He wasn't there.
Don't kill my story. I can remember Kittle and Purdy and somebody else. Maybe a Bosa. Maybe I'm wrong.
We could look at the obviously Jaden Daniels was at a wedding recently because his mom was with him. Whose was that?
I don't know.
That was a player.
Wait, was he at Travis Hunter's wedding? I don't know what the overlap would be. But
I remember there was a big viral clip where a woman tries to talk to me. His mom side-eyeing said woman. Wow, Jaden Daniels.
She's playing better defense than the Knicks last night.
Yeah, no, she's tough. All right, I'll get that story.
The Yankees stayed hot last night, a 3-2 win in Anaheim. They've taken 4 straight, 15-19, and the Rays' 6-game win streak ended with a 4-2 home loss to Minnesota. So the Bombers lead the AL East by 7 games this morning.
Hey now!
Jose Altuve, 4 hits, including 2 homers, in the Astros' 11-1 rout of the A's, who have now dropped 12-13. And the Cubs scored twice, bottom 11 for a 4-3 win over the Rockies, who have now lost 21 consecutive series. Mom and Dad, back to you.
It was Brandon Ayuk's wedding this in April. Jane Daniel brought his mom as a date. There you go.
This bit's getting a little worn out.
We're bringing your mom to a wedding.
Problem. It's his life, which is scary.
I mean, obviously he must be okay with it.
What a disgrace!
You're never okay. You're never okay with this, Maggie. I'm sorry.
You got to focus on the playbook. I like this. As a Commanders fan, I would be excited.
No. Wait, didn't you want to banish Will Howard for crying in his mom's lap after a bad Ohio State game? Jaden Daniels cannot take his mom to a wedding.
This is not.
He did call him soft. He was a college kid.
I'm watching the dynamic here. She's the bodyguard to keep him free and clear,
that's
so
the
he can
problem.
focus on the playbook.
No.
See, I wonder about that because are you just going to find other avenues, outlets? You're just going to hide it, It's like when kids, like the kids who never got to eat sugary cereal, and then they'd come over to your house and just gorge on Lucky Charms.
Yeah, this is concerning. This is not a nothing thing.
Red flags.
They interviewed in the story Juju Watkins' mom, who was sitting between her and I think Michael B. Jordan. Remember that video?
I remember that too.
Jaden Daniels' mom also blocked Juju Watkins from.
Oh, it was Jaden. I'm sorry. He was sitting next to Jaden. Yeah, I think
a basketball game.
Juju Watkins' mom was also was so psyched about that. She's like, you got to keep these kids away from each other. This is great.
Taking the under on the Commanders' win total because of this.
Because of the mom?
Oh, okay. Sorry. This is thank God he got a mama like me because it ain't happening. Talking about the women at the wedding.
Amazing.
I get it.
This is not crazy. Exactly Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson and Wedding Crashers, you're telling me. Something tells me Jay Dan's going to find a way to be okay, but it did spawn a future great debate, which we're actually doing Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, which we're starting today, which we'll get more into in a moment. The most notorious sports parents, because John Haliburton back in the building last night, Rick Brunson on the sidelines. Now we got Jane Daniels' mom. I don't know her name.
LeVar Ball.
LeVar? Dion? I mean, we got...
Oh, I got it. I got mine already.
Allen Iverson's mom? Kevin Durant's mom?
Nope. It's a dad.
Did you
Julian Edelman's dad?
Richard Williams.
Oh, the king.
I think LeVar Ball gave him a run for his money.
I don't know. He was kind of like an OG.
Earl Woods is also.
Earl Woods is in there.
I mean, did any of them create their own shoe line and beat Michael Jordan one-on-one?
I mean,
not to get into the game debate
only
early,
one of those
but
things
he set a high bar.
Only half of those stories are true, by the way.
Yeah.
For the audience at home.
Half is the most generous thing you've ever said.
The shoe line is right up there with Belichick Productions. 888-710-4ISN.
It's right up there with the Hawk Tua Bitcoin.
Lonzo Ball basically blamed his injury history on those shoes. He won of 2 games. He was like, my knees were never the same.
They were made somewhere deep in China. Yeah. Oh, man.
All right, we got to take a quick break. What did Kalen DeBoer, the Alabama football coach, have to say yesterday at the SEC meetings? You're going to want to hear this next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back to the Maggie Perloff Show. We get to Kalen DeBoer speaking out at the SEC meetings in just a moment. But our pal JT is in Atlanta, has some commentary on last night's Pacers win. They now have a commanding 3-1 lead over the Knicks. What's up, JT?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I swear, I'm just so triggered by Perloff sometimes. Because just the true grit part, right? Like, I hate it unless it was Jeff Bridges. Oh, it was Jeff Bridges? Like, I guess then I...
No.
Right?
I did not like that movie for some reason, and I'm a big Jeff Bridges fan. I think I'm a big fan of the director. I just thought it was kind of dry. But anyway, that's not...
And then your point about the Knicks, right? It's like, really, I'm not understanding what it is. It's like, for me, if you get into a relationship and you outshoot your coverage, right, and you're with someone that's totally out of your league, now that you got there, you're like, oh, I should have never been with this person that was this. They were so much better than me anyway. Who cares if it works out or not? Like, no, you got the opportunity. You got to make the best of it. You got to do what you got to do to keep that thing going, man. You can't just be like, oh, no, they were too good for me anyway. Like, oh, no, you know what? I should have never been with them anyway. That's kind of how you are with these Knicks right now. And I think going into this series, they were favored. I mean, people thought that they were going to win.
Favorite.
Yeah,
Right.
but favorite is favorite. I mean, they have Haliburton looking like a top 5 player in the league right now.
Yeah.
They need to own up. They need to own to this, right? This is not something you can just, you know what? They were lucky to be there anyway. And I just don't understand that process of it all. And just for me, if we go to just real quick on the parents, I got to say LeBron's mom with Delonte West. She's got to be up. Right?
Oh, right. Those rumors were never totally substantiated. It's one of the great rumors of all time. But JT, that's
the fact that he got kicked off the team.
Well, I know, but the only thing is ever since then, he's completely spiraled in this really sad way. So, like, I don't know if maybe that was always going to happen, but yeah, we were just talking in the last segment. JT, thank you for the call as always. Good to hear from you. We're talking about most notorious sports parents.
I have, and you're not going to believe this, random Delonte West content, physical content that I'm going to share with the show later. You'll never guess.
Physical content?
Delonte West was a big part of my weekend. The discussion about him, not him. Unfortunately, he's
this past weekend.
This past weekend,
Memorial Day.
Yes.
Is this because he went to St. Joe's?
I was gifted something by the St. Joseph's basketball program this weekend.
And if JT had not brought that up, we would have never known.
No, I brought the books over here. I brought 3 books home from Philadelphia this weekend. I gave a Batman comic book to EJ. Very nice of me, I might add.
Thank you very much.
I brought a book, The 50 Greatest Eagles of All Time, that I'm going to display on the set, which will make you sick.
Amazing.
And then there's a book about the 2004 St. Joe's Hawks, signed by the author, that I got.
Why are you guys such nerds?
But let me one thing about this Knicks expectations. I just think that this is a lot. To me, this feels like a New York thing. There's so much pressure on Thibodeau. I think in a lot of cities where if you had taken this particular team to the Eastern Conference Finals, you might say that was a good season. I feel like to me, the spectrum is too hard against this guy. Like, he does not necessarily have an overwhelming favorite. I think a lot of fan base might say that was a good job by the coach. And I'm not trying to be a hot taker there. I think New York is hard on Tibbs.
Gonna disagree. I think it's a basketball thing because we watched Michael Malone, who had just won a championship 2 years ago, get fired 2 weeks before the playoffs. I remember when Dwayne Casey, remember him? Toronto Raptors, won Coach of the Year, kicked him out. They were like, he's literally the reigning Coach of the Year. And they were like, you know what? No.
Yeah, but I mean, how deep were those guys in the I know Malone getting fired was insane too. But,
well, I'm just saying.
But Dwayne Casey, I don't think he ever did anything, did he?
No, but you're winning Coach of the Year. You're definitely making the playoffs.
Yeah, but NBA Coach of the Year is a long known curse for the longevity. But
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a New
I don't
York
think Dwayne
thing.
Casey, and you have to double check this. I know Nick Nurse won the title there. I think this is a good run with this team. I think when the dust settles, Knicks fans are going to be like, this was a pretty good season.
So
I think.
I don't. But the other thing about what JT said, I'm curious about that. If you start dating or marry a woman who's like way out of your league, I'm thinking like somehow you nab like Sydney Sweeney or something. It's like out of nowhere. I was thinking Chris Humphries when he married Kim Kardashian or something like that. Do you think that if when it ends, if it's a breakup, a divorce, whatever, is the guy saying like, oh, I was just happy to be there, I was happy it happened, or are they just like kicking themselves because they couldn't keep it?
Oh my God, Chris Humphries was probably the happiest man on the earth when he got out of that wedding, I imagine.
No, he was in the wedding.
Right, he was. I don't know what was going on with that guy, but yeah, definitely he's thrilled to get out of that relationship.
All right, well, that wasn't exactly the question I was asking, but
I know what you're asking, and I think it depends.
like you marry Sydney Sweeney, say you're married for a year, and then she's like, I want to get a divorce. So you're just like, damn, I was married to Sydney Sweeney for a year. Look at me.
Get that alimony.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, get back to hoops in a second. We got to pause on college football. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, SEC meetings going on, Pearl, and a lot of drama around what the future of the sport is going to look like, because obviously the SEC, their commissioner, has so much influence over the future and the direction. So the biggest thing on the table is, how are you going to divide up whether it's going to be, 14 or 16 teams in the future? We know it's going to be 12 again this year, and we know it's going to be straight seeding. But in the future, are there automatic bids? Are there automatic qualifiers? If so, how many? How much? How many is the SEC and the Big Ten going to get versus the Big 12 And the ACC. Is the SEC going to have to add another conference game in order to get these automatic bids? How do the TV networks play into it? There's just so much there.
Don't forget the 16, too. The coaches want 16. The administrators want 12, I read the other night.
So the latest is, I guess, the coaches want something called a 5+11.
Yeah.
They want 5 automatic bids, and they want 11 at-large bids. And the SEC coaches do not want to add another SEC game.
And let's not forget Charlotte.
And I understand why. It'll never not be funny. I understand why. You're going to add another SEC game, but meanwhile, Notre Dame gets to keep their schedule and everyone else gets to keep their schedule. Because, Pearl, what you've said all along is that the key to this entire thing is just who happens to be on your schedule in any given year with how these rotations go and who you're playing and how many home games and conference games. It's everything.
Well, it is. I don't know that I said it that definitively, but strength of uneven scheduling is obviously a huge deal. Indiana played nobody. Was that Indiana team good enough to make the Final Four? And I feel like I'm picking on them because they had a great year. But the reality is the way that Alabama lost last year, you say, oh, they lost to Vandy, that was pretty good for a Vandy team, but was not really good. They lost to Oklahoma, who's a bad team, and then they lost to Tennessee, right? But you look, I heard, this is not my take. This is what I think was Todd McShay or somebody was saying, like, you have to understand the grind on a weekly schedule. You beat Georgia 41-34. What that takes out of your team, then you have to go to Vandy, where you are the number one game on their schedule. You're Alabama. You have a target on your back. This is a take that the grind of the SEC is much harder than people realize. So you lose Oklahoma, that's unforgivable. But if you look at it in the context of what was happening, it's hard to be Alabama and go on the road, and it's just madness after you do not get a break in the SEC.
Okay, and my response to that is going to be wah, wah, wah. You're Alabama. Like, that's the privilege, that's the pressure, that's what you sign up for when you go to play there or when you go to coach there. So you can't, like, get to Alabama, get to the New York Yankees, be like, why does everybody boo us all the time? You know what you're doing. You know where you're going. And so then to complain about it, I think is a little bit weak. So let's hear from Kalen DeBoer, though. Manny, I'll hear cut 28, please. Questioning, would other teams who got into the 12-team playoff have easily gotten in had they had Alabama's schedule?
I'm open to whatever. I'm open to hearing the conversations and listening. There's certainly thoughts you have, but I can't say that they're concrete in my mind. You kind of wonder what would happen if other people would have had the chance to play our schedule last year, and that would only get tougher.
That was hardly wah, wah, wah.
No, but the thesis is wah, wah, wah. Because the other part, too, is let's use the Indiana example, and I don't want to just, like, call them out specifically, but it's a fair point.
Right.
They're in the Big Ten.
The Big Ten is not the SEC. The Big Ten is top-heavy and never has been the SEC.
However, I think they're going to enjoy the same kind of, I would say, protections or the same kind of rewards, if you will, when it gets to a college.
Up last year.
No, but not even next year. Like, moving forward, let's say however many automatic bids. Let's say we do that.
Yeah.
However many automatic bids the SEC is going to get, the Big Ten's going to get the same amount.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think the automatic bid system is trouble too. Like, the more rules they put on how they choose this field, the more trouble they're going to have.
Well,
just keep it to the.
You know why? I
know why, but it's stupid. It just causes nothing but trouble every time. Anytime the NCAA or college football or anybody puts unnecessary restrictions on the structure, it always ends up backfiring.
So the reason why I think they want to keep conference champions as a thing is because they want to keep those conference games as the cash cow, right? They want to. Those conference games, they want to still matter and mean something.
Well, I was talking about the additional automatically you have to have 4 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams. That's going to cause major problems some years.
Yeah, ask an ACC fan like EJ. Ask like Deion Sanders how he feels about that in the Big 12, right?
Well, I think the SEC is the one who's going to be vulnerable because then you're going to get an Indiana who's taking the spot of South Carolina or Alabama last year when they were clearly a top 12 team. They got screwed. I mean, Indiana, Who did Indiana beat last year? Just show me one win where you're going to be like, that's impressive. It's not on their schedule.
I think the problem, though, is both of those conferences are bloated because we're talking about Indiana, and that's fair. But remember, Texas also had a very weak SEC schedule. They only had Georgia, and they lost. And then they lost to them again. The other teams they faced, like Oklahoma was terrible. Vanderbilt was their only other top 25 win in SEC play, and then Texas A&M. They didn't play a lot of good teams. So I think, we're banging on Indiana, and we're going to bang on some of these like Big Ten teams. Well, the SEC is also going to be super bloated. So there are going to be years where those teams are going to play weaker teams, and are we going to say, oh, this team didn't deserve it because they played a weak SEC schedule?
Well,
we're never going to say that.
This is where the argument goes around and around and around because SEC fans will tell you our worst team is better than the Big Ten's worst team, right? And they'll say the floor is so much higher that going to Texas A&M is really hard. And that was a game on the road, right, that they ended up winning. But it's like that going there is so much harder than, Minnesota having to go to play Purdue or whatever.
Purdue has the worst win total in the country. I saw that at 3.5. I mean, the Big Ten happened. The bottom of the Big Ten was terrible last year.
Yeah, but
you're always going to have, and Vandy, for all Vandy's flaws, they're still going to be better than Northwestern and all those bottom feeding schools.
Well, see, but this is the thing. Like, it's like an impossible then argument. If you just think the SEC is so far and away superior top to bottom, every single aspect of it, well, then you have to, I don't know how you like solve for that because there's so many different types of metrics that do strength of schedule. And also, are you just going to basically do the rankings on paper then? So it doesn't even matter what your win-loss record is because you're in such a different weight class.
Well, I think you should have no rules and just take the top 12 or 16 teams.
So it's based on a committee ranking then?
Yeah, I'm better than that with
that
these
is going to cause a lot of problems.
Well, it's definitely better than the current system where they're forced to make decisions that go against football logic. Like, why would you? It's easier to just say the top 12 teams than have these rules where you got to have a group of 5 team. Maybe some years you don't have a group of 5 team. Just keep it open. At least it's fair.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I feel like, did fair go out the window with college football a long time ago?
Well, yeah,
Who
but
can
now
tell?
that it's gotten bigger, I think that they should really start to think about fair a little more. Because now that you're doing
Who's defining what that word means?
Well, I mean, we know what unfair is when there's totally uneven scheduling. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is not wrong. Do you think that Indiana would have had a better result than Alabama did last year?
Okay, I'm going to throw another wrench into this. And the other part of, and they acknowledged this yesterday, and they always acknowledge it, that it's a television product. And so I think where you're talking about fair, unfair, we can't discount how the TV networks, whether it's like, what do they call that? Like soft influence or hard influence, how they influence this. Because are you really telling me you didn't want to watch Ashton Genty in the college football playoff? Like, I don't think that Boise State should have been that high of a seed. They're correcting that this year. They're doing straight seeding. But I like the fact that we get to see a once maybe in a lifetime running back. And if you're just doing the straight seeding, then yeah, an SEC team is definitely getting in over Boise.
Well,
if
last year Boise, what did
that.
Boise enter what was they, like 7th or something in the country when they got into the thing?
No, I think they were lower. But here's
really?
the thing.
I think they were pretty high.
But if you're
they ended up with a 3 seed.
But they wouldn't be, because if you're just saying the strength of schedule has to be so weighted toward the SEC, then a Mountain West team is not going to have the opponents on their schedule possible to get into the top 16.
Yeah, they were 9. Okay, so they were 9 headed into the tournament. Yeah, no, I just want the best 12 teams. I don't want any rules on it. Just kind of like the NCAA tournament, the basketball tournament. Just give me
the basketball tournament has
there's
automatic qualifiers.
There's so many AQs there.
Well, the top seed.
Or the invites, rather.
Right. Well, forget all but generally I'm thinking of the top 12 teams. I would rather
conference champions.
I would rather have, and I know you're right. I don't want to rely on committees, but I would definitely rather have no rules on how they pick these teams because they never help the situation.
See, I think you're getting yourself into
you got lucky
some
with
deep
Ashton
water.
Genty.
No, but you're getting, but like we could, with the parity now in college football, with guys being able to get paid with NIL, like Ashton Genty can stay at Boise State. You can have somebody, Diego Pavia can stay at Vanderbilt. Maybe they're SEC, but you know what I'm saying? Like maybe you get
put them in the tournament if they're a top 12 team. Go ahead.
But if in your world they wouldn't be a top 12 team because there's no way the Mountain West would be able to hold a candle to the SEC if you think the SEC is so head and shoulders above everyone else. So you're never getting Ashton.
So
Jeanty.
you're saying, okay, so your structure is you're admitting that the Mountain West team doesn't belong in the top 12.
No, I'm saying using your logic, they wouldn't belong. That's not what I want.
So,
I like keeping alive those kind of cool stories, so I'm okay with conference champions getting an automatic bid.
Yeah, I would get rid of that rule. I would totally just go to the top 12 teams. And there's no reason to overregulate this thing. There's just no compelling. I understand your thing about keeping the conference title games alive for profit, but I just think you're always going to run into trouble. Every year you're going to have controversy.
888-710-4-ISN, 888-710-4476. Chris is our pal in Birmingham. Chris, what are people talking about down there when it comes to college football playoff?
We're gonna be elitist and say and agree with Perloff here. And Maggie, when you say the Wambulance happening, you might want to sit this one out.
I never sit one out, Chris.
Yeah, you might want to. Because see, here's the thing. If you're going to keep this energy for the SEC, you better keep this as much for Notre Dame because they don't even have to play a conference championship.
Fair. You want to call out Notre Dame? I'll be right there with you. But Notre Dame, and we know what that's about. Notre Dame benefits from being a huge TV draw.
That NBC contract has just been overblown at this point. Either they better man up and join the conference, or either get off the toilet. Okay. Here's the case in point. Listen, when Bama Lillard has to just constantly be the leader, number one, this whole golden standard measured up to, and the likes of Indiana after the head coach talked crap saying like they belonged in there, and then he gets ousted like that, and he doesn't get even held to the same standard. Yeah, I think we have a case down here when we Lillard say that because you put us on this pedestal. But at the same time, Indiana gets a pass, and they've literally just been kicking up their feet the whole time getting here. What are we doing?
I don't know, Chris. I mean, you also lost to Oklahoma. You also lost to Vanderbilt.
Guess what though? Oklahoma is still top tier. SEC is still a top tier program before they was the SEC. What the heck was in the Big Ten before they?
No, they were having a terrible year though. Like that's the thing.
Let's talk about it. Let's really talk about it, Maggie. Because when you think of Big Ten before the whole merger, right? You had Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Penn State after that.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah.
Chris, take it up with the SEC, who's putting themselves on the same level as the Big Ten. Those are the power two. And that's who's going to be determining the future of the sport. I'm not telling you that Rutgers should be in the same level. I'm not making that argument.
Let's be real.
Okay, but then, Chris, here's the thing then. Then how many – so you want Alabama or any SEC team to be able to, lose 5 games and still get into a 12-team college football playoff? Just make it the SEC Invitational then. Then nobody gets in. Then, Chris, it's going to be the SEC and Ohio State and maybe Penn State some years, maybe Michigan some years, and that's it. Take your ball and go home then.
But either they got to get good or either they got to come up on – it may sound elitist, but they got to sit one out because
okay, Chris. And by the way, here's the thing: you telling other programs to catch up. By the way, they are catching up. Number one, your Saban is gone, so they are going to be catching up. But two, you can't have a head start and have this. You have great history. You have great tradition. You have these great resources. You were the crown jewel franchise, college franchise of the 2000s. You have a history going back to Bear Bryant, and now you want to complain about people hold you to a high expectation?
Yes, because here's the thing, though. Well, I'm the main one getting the feet cut underneath me, and then have to constantly readjust because the lower end haven't been able to cut out their weight, so you have to help them out on the back end. But here's
why? Because you have to split TV money?
No, NIL and transfer portal. That's what I'm talking about. But here's the
and nobody railed against it more than Saban until he changed his tune and realized that he was fighting City Hall.
He didn't have a freaking option.
Right, exactly. But nobody was listen.
Rap on the plate and say, hey, you deal with it.
Here's the thing, Chris. I'm sorry that I can't feel bad for Alabama. I love watching Alabama play, and thank you for the call. But I can't feel bad when you guys stacked 5 stars after 5 stars after 5 stars after 5 stars. You had dudes on the bench. You enjoyed this great advantage of being Alabama and having all the spoils of Alabama, and now the playing field's getting even because of other outside forces, and you got to deal with it.
Well, last year was an anomaly, though, because they didn't have all those guys last year.
They had Jalen Mero last year. They kept their quarterback. They had
their
wide
best player
receivers.
was playing safety at Ohio State.
17-year-old phenom.
He was the best wide receiver in the country.
Yeah, they had Ryan Williams, who wore down because he's 17 years old, and no one else. And they had no running back. This was the worst Alabama squad we've seen in 20 years.
Look at the recruiting stars that are playing out there. I know you can say, okay, they're not as good, but they still have guys who are megastars coming out of high school.
But last year was definitely their worst roster.
Well, also, they changed from one legendary coach to a different guy. Like, you don't think there's going to be any...
There was a bump last year, but they still, their wins are way more impressive than any of the teams you're talking about. I think, and me and Chris are on the same page here, you're almost saying, well, I don't want to see the SEC Invitational. Well, if the SEC are the best teams, you're not just going to put in a Big Ten team just to have different conferences represented. What does that mean? Just say well, you know what? There's too many SEC teams here. I hear you're saying, let's throw in Michigan State just because there's too many SEC teams. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you're saying that, you want to put even the lower SEC teams
if they're awesome, yes.
Well, but what define awesome?
Like South Carolina was great last year. They would have whooped half these teams in the. They started to play really well at the end of the year. That's awesome.
But see, that's your precious committee right there, because that's the other part. The college basketball committee, when they're doing the NCAA tournament, they actually will look at the last month or 6 weeks and are you playing better than the beginning of the year? This committee didn't do anything like that, or else South Carolina would have been in.
Right. I think the committee screwed up. They looked too much at wins and losses. They should have been looking at quality of team and quality of wins more because of the uneven schedule. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but you want the committee to do everything. And I'm also saying that strength of schedule and all of that stuff, that's what metric are you using? Because there's a lot of different ways you can slice that up.
But it's certainly... Okay, that's better than we're going to have some arbitrary rule that could, for example, let's talk about automatic qualifiers. Sure. Say you had 4 for the Big Ten and 4 for the SEC, and there's a year where there just aren't 4 Big Ten teams. That's bad, right? By definition, that's what I'm saying. Don't put all these rules on how you pick your field. Leave it open to interpretation. I know the committee's not great, but it's still the best thing we have.
So the people who are floating the 4 automatic qualifiers for the SEC and the Big Ten are the SEC and the Big Ten. So you'd have to take it up with them.
Well, I'm just saying.
They're the ones with the power, and they're the ones who want that. Now, the coaches don't want that.
I don't think they should do that. I think I think all the restrictions are bad. And I think that the last year, the committee, and I think a lot of people criticize them, they ignored strength of victory. They just ignored it. They didn't care at all.
Right.
Alabama beat everybody. They beat Georgia. They beat LSU. They whooped up on Missouri. They had so many impressive wins, and it meant nothing to them.
Well, because they also had bad losses.
Right. But the bad loss, what count more? If Indiana doesn't have a single impressive win, then I don't know. If Alabama beat Georgia, Indiana beat Michigan.
Yeah, right. Well, also this
wasn't ranked at the time.
This was, I know Georgia won the SEC, so this is weird to say, but it was kind of a weird Georgia year.
Well,
7 overtimes against Georgia Tech. Losing to Ole Miss.
That's a problem. I just feel like we say, well, the SEC is just the best, and it's year to year, you have to prove it on the field. This whole But
they beat up each other. That's the problem. They all beat up each other. It's obvious if they are the best, then they're all going to end up giving each other 2 or 3 losses.
So then we seen, but if that's the case, then we've already seen who the good SEC teams are. So why are we worried about these teams that have 3 or 4 losses?
Because they're still good. I think it goes deeper.
Wait, so we want to see these teams play 4 or 5 times in a season? How many games do they have to play? Your playoff is the regular season. You have a chance to show you're a good team. This idea that you can play 5 games against SEC teams and say, hey, we lost 3, but hey, these other 2 were pretty good. We're never actually going to know anything. The regular season won't mean anything if we're going to judge it that way.
So you're saying if we all know there's an SEC team that has 3 losses, but we know they're really good, just keep them out?
Well, no. In the future, they might actually get in.
Right, and they should. But I don't think you guys are going to like that.
It's not that I'm not going to like it. It's just I actually like what the coaches are saying. Take the 5 conference champions. Okay, so you got the Power 4 and the Group of 5. I don't think there's going to be somebody so undeserving from those 5 teams. Then you have 11 bids to hand out, and 1 probably goes to Notre Dame, and I don't know what you're going to do about that.
Are you going to be okay if 7 of those bids are SEC, like we're seeing in college baseball right now?
That's fine.
Okay, so you guys are good with it. I just want to make sure because.
But I just don't want to take out conference champions totally.
Right, but I think
keep a Tulane, keep Boise State. Don't just totally turn your back on the.
Okay, I'll give you one conference champion because if you get up to 16, then you're going to get all these SEC teams, which will be fine. But I do worry about the automatic qualifiers. I think if Big Ten and SEC get the same number, that is setting up to be definitely like there's going to be 1 or 2 years where that's just not going to work.
I just think it's frustrating for the other teams outside the SEC to hear SEC teams be like, well, it was really hard to play against Vanderbilt or really hard to play against these teams. Well, those teams play non-conference too, and sometimes they lose to the ACC, and sometimes those teams lose to the Big 12. So this idea that it's just so difficult to play, you don't understand how difficult it is to play against Arkansas on the road. Or why did Arkansas lose to Oklahoma State? They're these teams that you just bake in as difficult games that nobody understands how hard they are, and then we see those teams throughout the entire season play against other teams, and it's like, these teams aren't that good. We're just automatically giving the SEC so much credit every single year, regardless of what we're seeing on the field. Last year, the SEC was mid. It just was not that good a conference. This idea that we just got to put in as many SEC teams as possible, regardless of what their record is.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling.
Do you think Indiana and SMU were better teams than South Carolina last year?
Yes,
I don't think so. I think if they played in the playoff, do you think those teams would have beat them?
They beat Texas A&M and they beat Clemson.
I think they would have. They would have won a game in the CFP.
I don't know.
I don't.
They would definitely
they
beat
throw the
Indiana.
ball well. Their offense was very. I mean, they were a good team. I'm not trying to diss South Carolina, but I think
sounds like you just. How can you say you're not trying to diss South Carolina?
No,
you just did.
You're just asking. You're asking me if they're better than teams that went undefeated or lost one game. Yes, I don't think that's disrespectful to say South Carolina, who lost to Alabama, lost to Ole Miss by 24 points, and lost to LSU at home, to say that, and they blew that game, to say that team is so much better than everyone else in the ACC? No, I don't think so.
Well, the other part is, where's the game being played? Because I would have liked to seen, even if SMU had gotten to play Penn State on a neutral field or something like that, as opposed to having to go to Happy Valley in the middle of December.
Alabama plays SMU in the first round, hypothetically. What's the spread on that game?
Well, who knows? But that's
I know.
That's why you play the games.
No.
What was the spread? What was the spread on Alabama, Oklahoma?
Yeah, they had they were 17-point game spread against Oklahoma.
Well, why do you think the spread would be minus 12 Alabama?
Because
the perception is that they're a better team.
Right, but earlier you said Alabama wasn't that good. So which one is it? That's my point. That's why it's so frustrating.
No, I'm saying they should have gotten into they were better than some of the teams that got into 12. This wasn't the best Alabama year, but even a C- Alabama year is better than some of the teams that got into 12. I mean, they would have been favored by 10 points. Why do you think that is?
I think because of name recognition.
I think
they played a bowl game against Michigan, got destroyed. I don't like
right, because that's an exhibition game. But generally,
the real games against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, they got destroyed. So what that's the point, is that it's always a what if about Alabama and these SEC teams.
I think Alabama could have
happened.
I think Alabama, South Carolina, LSU probably could have beaten a lot of the teams in the first round matchup. I think they would have been favored over all of them.
Well, but favored and actually winning.
But favored means something. I mean, it's generally Vegas isn't like, well, you have a great history. They're saying everybody thinks you're going to win this game because you have a bunch of future pros all over your roster.
Well, but also, as well as I do, Vegas also plays favorites in terms of name recognition. Why the Dallas Cowboys, people bet them in a different way than they bet the, Carolina Panthers. It is
I think
different.
you're nipping. I mean, yeah, but there's also a reason that Alabama would be favored over SMU. Because I think the perception is they're a better team.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So clearly there's a lot still to iron out here with the college football playoff. We know what's going to happen this year. This year, 12 teams, straight seeding. That's going to be on the docket. But as far as the future goes, well, there's a lot there. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're super excited about this.
What's up with that?
Glad you asked, Coach. Today we launch the Mount Olympus of Maggie Perloff. God, I can't wait for this. We're going on tour, everybody, and we are going to look for, and we're going to find, and we're going to determine the 4 sports gods of every great sports city in this country and Canada. 888-710-4ISN. We kick that off top of the hour. Don't move, M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff. College football get us all fired up in late May, of course, as it tends to do. Talking about the future of the CFB playoff system. I say no rules. Just put the top 12 or 16 teams, whatever you want to do. I don't need any qualifiers. I don't need any guidelines or restrictions. This will, of course, none of it will avoid controversy, but that's the best part about the sport.
Yeah, I like having the 5 conference champions. Keep it the 5 plus 11, at-large bids is totally cool with me.
You're okay with 4 automatic qualifiers from the SEC and the Big Ten, or do you not like that rule?
I want the 5. I want the
5 plus
Power
11.
4. Everyone, all the champs get in. I think you should get rewarded for winning your conference.
Yeah,
and I like
mean,
getting a group of 5 because I want to see the Ashton Genties.
Okay.
I want to see the good stories also make it in when they're really talented.
But the storyline is all the ADs want these automatic qualifiers.
Of course they do.
2 for the ACC. But so at least you'll agree with me, that's too much.
I think that's too much.
Okay.
And I think that backfires a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is we were going over this, all the SEC and Big Ten powerhouses have a major changes this offseason. It could be the year of the Big 12 and the ACC. So that'll be fun.
How many conference champions are actually going to repeat as conference champions? We'll get to that another time. Meanwhile, Jim's in South Carolina. Jim, what do you think about the future of the college football playoff?
Yeah, I actually like the reformatted. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. I'm going to say that up front. I have a little problem with the caller that called in earlier. Last year, Notre Dame ran through two of the, at least the top teams in the playoffs with Penn State and Georgia.
Yep.
And this year they open up with Miami. Then they play Texas A&M. They play Southern Cal during the season. Arkansas. They also play Louisville. And so when we're talking about, we don't have a huge stacked conference, but that's on them. If they want to complain about we have to run through all this gauntlet, they're the ones that made their conferences what they are, where they basically beat up on each other.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when we were put up against the best or some of the top best in the SEC and the Big Ten, Notre Dame beat them both. And so I think they stand. They've got a tough schedule again this year. And so let it fall out where it may.
Yeah, no, and that was Jim. Thank you. We had a caller, Chris from Birmingham, said, join a conference already, right? Which is always the refrain for people who are not Notre Dame fans, and appreciate your phone call. Lost to Northern Illinois, which is a tough one. But to be fair, rebounded really, really well. Beat Georgia when Georgia's quarterback got hurt in the first round. Am I nitpicking now? I mean, listen, they made it to the championship game, and they were
that
right
was the best
there.
dump of my career.
This is not the time. Yeah, this is not the time to be killing Notre Dame. They had an awesome season. They're start really good, but at Miami, then A&M. I do not see Louisville on the schedule, and weirdly, this USC rivalry might go away because USC doesn't want it anymore because it's too hard to compete in the Big Ten.
The Notre Dame schedule is a joke. Look at these ACC teams they get to feast on. They get Syracuse, Pitt, Boston College,
Stanford, obviously.
Boston College, Stanford. How do they keep drawing the bottom of the ACC? What is it? You get 5 ACC games, but only one of them is going to be a decent team. And Miami's probably down from where they were last year. They just lost the number 1 overall pick. This is crazy. How come they don't get better ACC teams? How come Clemson's not on here?
Here's the thing. When some of these rivalries started with Notre Dame, these were good teams.
No, but these aren't rivalries. This is 5 automatic with ACC? Is that the deal?
Yeah. No, but Stanford, they always play Stanford. They always play USC, right?
Well, but I feel like they get a lot of NC State, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, BC. This is always there. Wake Forest is almost. I'm surprised they don't hand them to Notre Dame.
To be fair, though, as a non-conference, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Boise. That's not terrible.
Yeah, they're on the road for Arkansas. Boise, they get at home.
Arkansas is not blowing you away,
but
right?
then that's my point, though, because then we have a conversation with the SEC, and you're like, well, Vanderbilt, you can't sneak them those Vanderbilt Commodores. It's like, well, it's hard for Alabama to beat these teams, but then when a Notre Dame plays them, that team's not that good.
Well, come on, this schedule is you're right. They start out with Miami and A&M, but then you got Purdue, Arkansas is their big SEC. Boise State just lost Ashton Genty. NC State, USC is down. BC, Navy, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Stanford. That's hardly a murderer's row to end the season.
Let's get to Bogusch. He's got headlines. You're welcome to weigh in at 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Guys, the Indiana Pacers now 32-2 this season when scoring 120 points or more. Last night's 130-121 decision over the Knicks, giving them a 3-1 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. Tyrese Haliburton led the attack with 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, and 0 turnovers.
We did a great job of just playing our way, the whole game, keeping pace in the game and just playing pacer basketball.
Haliburton's stat line, by the way, the first of its kind since the NBA began tracking turnovers in the 77-78 season. He also joins Nikola Jokic and Oscar Robertson as the only players with a 30-10-15 playoff game. Jalen Brunson led the Knicks with 31, but also had 3 of their 17 turnovers.
I mean, a lot of them are stuff that we can control. As a team, we just need to tighten the screws when it comes to that. Just being aggressive. If there were aggressive turnovers, that'd be different. But passive turnovers is not us.
Those 17 turnovers leading to 20 Pacer points. The Knicks down as many as 15 last night, did get as close as 6 a few times in the final minutes. Now they face elimination at home tomorrow night. The Dallas Stars on the brink after losing Game 4 of hockey's West finale, 4-1 in Edmonton. The Oilers have won 3 in a row in that series. Another night, another homer for Shohei Ohtani.
He swings, hits a high fly ball to left and deep. Quan going back, he's to the track. He looks up, that ball's gone. A home run, it's number 20 for Ohtani. And his show just continues to roll. He is unbelievable.
That's Tim Neverett, Dodgers radio. 3rd straight day with a long ball for Ohtani. He is the first player this season with 20 homers in just 55 games. He and the Dodgers 9-5 winners in Cleveland. The Tigers won their 3rd straight, 3-1 over the Giants. They're now 16 games over 500. The Mets are plus 13 after holding off the White Sox 6-4. And the Cardinals snapped the Orioles 3-game run, 7-4 in Baltimore. Nolan Arenado, a tie-breaking solo homer, top 8. Paige Beckers back in Connecticut last night, getting her first WNBA win. The former UConn star, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists in the Wings' 109-87 victory over the Sun. Atlanta won in L.A. 88-82, and Minnesota topped Seattle 82-77. The Lynx are 5-0 this season. And former NBA star Shawn Kemp pleading guilty to assault charges for shooting at 2 men in a car in a mall parking lot in Washington State back in March of 2023. Kemp is sentenced in August, with the prosecution recommending 9 months behind bars. Guys, back to you.
Well, that's sad. Thank you, Bogusch. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Talking a little college playoff. What is the best way for them to structure the postseason? Nobody can agree. And by the way, apparently they're taking suggestions. What's that?
Bring back the BCS.
I know you're the only one who wants that. But stick by it.
There was a sort of an old school go back to the past take. There were a couple of people who said go back to the BCS, which I didn't understand at all.
Well, if the committee is going to actually determine everything, then basically computers are, because where do you think these committee members are getting all their data from? It can't just be a gut check for Bubba Cunningham or whatever.
Can I ask you, is there any way, without destroying college football, and I know the answer to this, that you could have an NFL type rotation scheduling where somehow you even it out and you don't see these September games that are 64-7, and then you could just get more even playing field across conferences, so you get a better assessment of who the top 12 teams are?
Well, I mean, listen, they've already taken a blowtorch to most rivalries anyways, and anything that's, geographically makes sense. Right. So if the NFL, it never really matters. Like, they'll blow up conferences, you'll switch conferences. Like, there's nothing really precious there. Yeah. So if you want to become like the NFL in that way, then sure.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I think college football purists will say they've already ruined the game by ripping apart the fabrics. But it is, now that you're a 12-team playoff, you're taking in all this gambling money, you're basically a pro sport. College football is a pro sport. And to say that there's any academics or anything, like, I don't know. That seems naive. I think basically you're a second NFL. You're like NFL 2.
I think you have to get one more step, one more domino would have to fall, which is not just having the $20 million for every athletic department. You need like a salary cap.
Oh, like a union?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying a salary cap because in college football, then there are rich schools and there are not rich schools.
Well, I think you're going to have it. I mean,
you have rich owners in the NFL and not rich owners in the NFL, but then you need a draft and how do you even things out and parity and.
Well, now House versus NCAA, I think you will get some form of that. I mean, everyone has a $20 million budget, then it's going to be hard to spend. I mean, that's the reports. It's going to be hard to spend extra.
Spend over it, yeah. Let's see how that goes.
You're right.
Can I attempt to try to answer Pearl's question here?
Yeah.
I think you have to abolish conferences.
Right.
Basically allow every team, I think the teams should be, you can protect one rivalry, and then you allow some governing body to then do a rotating schedule. That's how you do it. I think
to make it more even.
Yes, to make it more even. I think. Yeah. I just think you can't have conferences and have what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I think you're gonna have. And what would be interesting is I think what would happen is, I think all the schedules would be not that great. I think you see a lot of teams play a lot more easier teams. It wouldn't be so unbalanced per se, but at least it would be fair. That'd be how you have to do it. You say, hey, if Texas wants to play Oklahoma we'll protect that game. Everyone gets to protect one game. But everything else, the other 11
totally
games on your schedule,
grabs.
is just rotated just like you would in the NFL.
But you would probably lose a lot of SEC, mini rivalries.
It would all be gone.
Yeah, that's
But when Stanford is now playing in the ACC, I ask you what's left of it anyway.
It's halfway gone already.
Here's the other part of it. So there is also, as far as a salary cap or something like that in college football, there's also this sort of like wink, wink, and $100 handshakes and bags full of cash and boosters and all of that I think will exist even if they say don't spend over your limit. It's like, well, we've got decades and decades and generations of people looking the other way, usurping those rules, or sometimes blatantly violating them.
Get back to the good old days with the handshakes.
The NFL, you cannot do that.
Right.
Like, we have rumors about Tom Brady, that all of a sudden the Kraft family would have a very generous donation to Tom Brady's charity. Meanwhile, he's taking less money. There were same rumors about Jerry Rice, but the thing is, you can't do that anymore. You'd have to really crack down.
Yeah, but then the latest headline is Roger Goodell is sick of teams manipulating the cap. So certain teams are paying a ton more, specifically my Philadelphia Eagles. You ask why they're paying all those guys, because they've figured out a way to have a much higher payroll by manipulating the cap. But one thing about the parity and all that, baseball has a huge disparity, and that still exists. It's not great. I mean, the Pirates pay nothing, and the Yankees or whoever pay a lot. So there are sports that have disparities.
I know, but can you draft guys? Can you trade guys? Like, is that going to be part of it now?
Well, with the portal, guys want to start. You could get a quarterback to go to a lesser school so he can play.
888-710-4ISN. Top of the hour, we launch the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff. We are going to find the 4 sports gods of all the major cities in this great country. We kick this off today. We're also going to have some fun guests who are going to join us to weigh in on their picks. It's just going to be a fun time. Hope you're there.
How do you like that?
Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It's the Indiana Pacers 1 win away from getting back to the NBA Finals for the first time since Reggie was actually on the court.
Yep.
Now he's on the sidelines. But beyond just Knicks Pacers, and we're going to get another game tonight, obviously OKC and Minnesota, and Oklahoma City is 1 win away from also punching their ticket to the finals for the first time since 2012. Here's Shams Charania, the #1 NBA insider, on what we can expect once these playoffs are over and the player movement season gets underway.
This is the most, I think, anticipation team executives have had over an offseason. I think this is going to be the craziest offseason I don't want to say all time. We just came off a trade deadline. I think it was the craziest of all time. I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever.
Okay, well, nothing is going to compare to the Luka trade, right?
Well,
right?
Is that what he's saying? Is he saying that, I don't know, who's on the move now? And by the way, I don't know if, you had the Luka trade, but it wasn't like there was a huge Jimmy and Luka, so I guess it was pretty big.
De'Aaron Fox trade, too. It was a big trade.
Yeah, I mean, the Jimmy one, we were just waiting for it to happen. The Luka trade, people still 24 hours later thought it was fake. So that
the
one
Luka trade
shocked
was big.
everybody.
Jimmy's 100 years old, so that was a different one.
Here's my question, though. Is it really going to be bigger than Kevin Durant with his house in the Hamptons? Is it, and teams coming to see him, including Tom Brady stumping on behalf of the Celtics? Is this really going to be bigger than LeBron James doing the decision? I don't know. we all know that Giannis has been basically passive-aggressively saying he wants out of Milwaukee for years now, so you can't be shocked by that.
The 30 for 30 on Shaq in Orlando and L.A. was pretty wild.
Amazing, right?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And by the way, Kevin Durant getting moved, I don't think that really qualifies as the needle mover that it was when he was still in his prime, even though Durant's still playing well, but it's not like, oh gosh, they got Durant. Now it's not KG going to the Celtics. Like, oh wow, they're going to win the title now.
Well, yeah, it's more like KG going to the Nets. What other than Giannis is the big piece, right? Assuming the Giannis moves. Tell me a real needle mover.
Well, I was wondering if Karl Anthony Towns is going to be on the move if the Knicks lose this series, but
I don't understand. If the Knicks got rid of Karl Anthony Towns, what are you doing?
And the kid is a loser.
Who's left?
Well, you're trading him for probably another star, so maybe a Kevin Durant. Like, that's been the guy that people have been talking about.
Karl Anthony Towns is 29. You can't trade him for a 38-year-old Kevin Durant, can you?
I mean,
everything's on the table.
Everything's on the table considering what's happening right now. I would have thought that was crazy last week, and I tweeted that during Game 3. I was like, that sounded insane last week, and it's a new week, and now everything's going to be available. But
I don't think the Knicks would do that, but yeah.
You never know.
I mean, would they be a playoff team with Kevin Durant even? They would get considerably worse. He is not going to stay healthy next year.
And the cat runs into the end zone. That is a
trust me, this
touchdown.
is a team who just got a 35. I'm a Sixer fan. A 35-year-old Paul George. You do not want a 38-year-old Kevin Durant. That is not good.
Maybe. I mean, Kevin Durant was way better than Paul George last year, but that would be one of those moves. Yeah, the health is definitely a concern. But I mean, I think if you look at some of these teams, like Boston's looking at a pair down, right? Do they make a big move? What does Cleveland do? Like, do they decide they got to split up Garland and Donovan Mitchell? Do one of those guys get traded? Or does Mobley get traded? Like, there are some teams that are maybe looking at themselves, kind of doing a deep dive, saying, "Hey, like, we're not getting it done, or we're spending too much money in the apron. We got to make a big trade." So maybe that's what Shams is talking about.
God, the East is so bad next year. Because Giannis, they want to send Giannis to the West, right? Milwaukee's been very consistent about that. So you're going to add Giannis to another contender in the West.
Tatum's still probably not going to be back.
Yeah, Tatum's out. Like, the East is going to be legitimately, I've been joking that it's a JV. It is going to be significantly worse in the West. Because you're going to have the best team in the league, the Thunder. You're going to have Dallas all of a sudden has got Cooper Flag. They're stacked. You got the Lakers. You got the Warriors might get Giannis. The Rockets might get Giannis. The Spurs are ready to go. Like, how is this all going to work, Maggie?
You didn't mention Denver. You also Minnesota's been in back-to-back now. Western Conference Finals aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies feel like that 2 years ago we would have said the Grizzlies.
And did you mention Wemby?
Yeah, I did mention the Spurs.
Okay.
Yeah, the Spurs. Well, to me, the big question is where Giannis goes. Like the favorite where Houston and San Antonio. But what if the Warriors make a move for Giannis? Then are they back in the mix?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and you can't discount the Warriors ever at any time.
And by the way, have we even mentioned the premier team in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers, and your LeBron James?
My LeBron James.
I mean, they have Luka and LeBron.
Update LeBron, right? He's expected to opt in. So
can they make a
opting in
move?
for one more year. And do we think this is the final year?
Maybe, but can they need another star? I don't know how they would put that together. But you always say stars just land in their lap.
I mean,
hey, LeBron, we're pulling for your groin.
Am I wrong about that?
No, you sure aren't.
One literally fell out of the sky, and everyone yesterday was salivating over the fact that he looked thinner in a photo.
Who are the basketball gods going to give to the Lakers this offseason?
Oh, man, I'm so glad that you brought up the sports gods, the basketball gods, because that's going to be the topic we tackle next. Excellent tease, Pearl. Coming up in mere moments, we will launch our newest project in Denver, and it's going to be a fun one. It's called the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods of every major city.
Did you say Endeavor or in Denver?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we're launching in Denver? We're going to Denver?
I was so confused. I was like, we have New York stuff ready. Did Maggie get the wrong city?
Wait, I got to scramble.
A project, guys.
Is Alex English going to be on my
clues.
list? I spent a long time thinking about, does Alex English make the Denver cut?
I can't wait till we do Denver. We're not doing Denver today. Endeavor.
Broncos
My allergies.
Let's rock.
I don't think Russell Wilson and Nate Hackett are making that Mount Olympus. Going out on a limb there.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Congratulations, Indiana Pacers. 1 win away from the NBA Finals, and Tyrese Haliburton continues to make history. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Amazing last night. Haliburton with a triple-double, 32 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, 0 turnovers. 0. I mean, Pearl, that's unreal for Tyrese Haliburton. And it is actually a huge component to the game because the Knicks could not get him to make a mistake, and they were able to play the game on their terms.
Yeah, I thought the Pacers played exactly the game they wanted. It was flying up and down the court. They couldn't really set in against Haliburton a lot. And I give a lot of credit to the role players on them. Neesmith was all over. What happened to his injury, by the way?
It was flawless. The ankle was just immaculate. I don't know.
They're really well built in the sense that the guys around Haliburton accentuate his strengths. He's not great on defense, so you have some really good defensive guards, and they can hide him a bit. And then offensively, last night he was feeling it. Again, though, you have to admit, it hasn't been there like this consistently for Haliburton. I think he's great. I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't expect this every night from him.
You know, I got to be honest. I understand. Sorry, 15 assists, and it was 12 rebounds. I shortchanged him there. But here's the thing. He's going up against a guy who just won the award for Mr. Clutch. And I know these awards are recent and you can say they're whatever, but Jalen Brunson is the guy who's got the reputation of being the closer, right? He's the guy who's got the reputation of hitting these big shots. And to be honest, Haliburton has met him shot for shot. And some of them seem lucky, like game 1 where you go back iron, it goes above the shot clock and then falls in the hoop. I mean, these things are just bananas. But Haliburton has outplayed Brunson. And till last night, Brunson hadn't missed a shot in the final 2 minutes of any game. And who's up 3-1? Haliburton hasn't either.
Yeah, no, but Haliburton didn't need any shots last night. And so we didn't see any clutch Haliburton last night.
No, I'm just saying that this has turned into a series where, Tyrese Haliburton has become the breakout star of this series. I mean, I know he was on Team USA. I know that he's got a lot of accolades, but he was also voted most overrated by his peers.
Doing another breakout star, Tyrese Haliburton. Didn't we have an all-star weekend where he broke out?
Sure, you can say the in-season tournament. Did he have a good one? But here, I really do think that.
What do you call it next round if they advance the break-in when Oklahoma City Thunder starts blitzing him at half court?
Well, we'll see that if it happens.
Why don't the Knicks? They are not pressuring his dribble enough because they don't have the dudes to do it. They are built. This is both conference finals remind me of the same thing. The Knicks are built specifically to beat the Celtics. And the T-Wolves are built specifically to beat the Nuggets. Now they're in matchups that do not favor their personnel.
Okay, well, that's also, isn't it on coaching a little bit, too, to try to make adjustments? I mean, to the point of who's covering Haliburton. I guess that was Josh Hart last night, but he didn't do a great job of it.
No, that was Bridges.
Bridges, excuse me.
But they're not, but they also, too, Haliburton, they're not pressuring his dribble. Did you see Anthony Edwards catches the ball right underneath the basket for 94 feet? There's one guy on him, and then there's a second guy shadowing him. Like, you got to get that ball out of Haliburton's hand somehow. He was just dribbling anywhere he wanted last night.
And on the flip side, the Pacers did a good job of getting the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. In the fourth quarter, he only had 1 field goal on 3 attempts, 0 threes.
Actually, there are a lot of Knicks fans who were happy in Game 3 that Jalen Brunson was sharing the ball more and not just dribbling out the 24-second clock. So,
he wasn't even in the game.
Yeah.
That was the thing. He wasn't in the game for most of the fourth quarter. It was basically the Karl-Anthony Towns show, and they were running like more of a spread, like a balanced offense. So
and they tried that again in Game 4. A lot of shots ended up with Bridges,
but those shots were terrible. That's the difference. Is that they with the previous Game 3, they were getting good shots every time down the floor. I mean, Bridges falling out of bounds, taking fadeaway threes.
But he did hit 2 threes.
Right, but he had been struggling shooting all night, and then he hits 2 threes. Okay, you hit 2 threes. That doesn't mean you take 3 more heat check threes or 3 more heat check jump shots, which is what he did.
He was 4 for 5 from 3-point range last night.
Which is ironic. He hit one at the end that was kind of a garbage time 3, which I was so annoyed about. But you can't have 3 straight possessions where Karl-Anthony Towns and Brunson don't shoot the ball down the stretch. It's just inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Well, then you got to blame the coach.
I do. I will raise my hand and say, Tom Thibodeau, you did a terrible job last night, buddy.
Well,
but wait, so you think? But again, I get back to the Pacers are a better team.
They look like it. Yeah. It's hard to argue that right now.
But if you went starting 5 for starting 5, do you think so?
No, I think starting 5, the Knicks have a better starting 5. ironically, that starting 5 unit is done terribly, but the Pacers have so much more depth. And I think Jalen Brunson has clearly worn down. Do you think he's the same player now that he was earlier in the play? Dude gets exhausted because he does so much offensively.
So here's the thing about depth. Like, we haven't talked about this yet, and we got a special project we got to get to, so I want to make this quick. But, it's the playoffs where I feel like depth it's always a factor, but less of a factor. This is where rotations get tightened up. This is where minutes become sparse for bench guys. Maybe they'll play a little bit more at home than they will on the road. You are relying on your stars in the playoffs, especially the Eastern Conference Final.
And I'm not creating this narrative. I think the Knicks don't go deep enough and get worn down as you get into these competitive, close playoff series. I think.
But you're talking about something cumulative, and I understand that.
Well,
and that's the criticism that Thibodeau's been facing for years and years.
I'm going into that lane. That I think Thibodeau wears these guys down. Brunson looks exhausted. Cat is a mess. I mean, Cat has nothing left in the tank. I don't know how that guy
his
even
knees hurt now.
But even so, he would be tired by this point of the series. I think that Oklahoma City might be the new formula. They are just rotating guys in and out. They have 3 guys who can cover Anthony Edwards and Dort, Caruso, and Cason Wallace. I just think that depth makes a big difference. And Indiana's got it. Those guys on the bench were great last night.
Yeah, but I mean, is the next series, if they win out here, like, is TJ McConnell going to be able to play in the next series? What's Nembhard going to be in the next series? Is he a starter?
Count out TJ McConnell at your own peril. That guy is a pest. Yeah, they'll all play. Yeah, they'll play. Pacers match up better with the Thunder because they'll go 10 deep with the Thunder. Not as good 10. That's the problem.
I just remember a time in the NBA when by the time you got to this point of the season, it was not about the bench anymore. It wasn't.
But you also know the thing that Thibodeau wears out as starters.
Well, obviously, yeah. 888-710-4ISN. It was a bigger storyline last year because guys were literally getting hurt and breaking down. 888-710-4476. Okay, we're super excited about this. Let's move away from the Knicks and Pacers for a second, and we'll get back into basketball. But this is something we've been working on for a while, and it launches today. It's called the Mount Olympus, and this is what it sounds like.
It's time to feast your ears on Maggie and Perloff's Mount Olympus.
Love it. Our imaging's still work in progress, but this is good for now. So, we are attempting, and not just attempting, Pearl, we are going to determine the 4 sports gods of every major sports city. You have your list, I have my list. If you think this sounds dangerously close to a Mount Rushmore, well, you're wrong. This is Mount Olympus. We're not a bunch of radio hacks. We don't do Mount Rushmore. Whoa! Clearly, we came up with something.
But if you're having trouble understanding it, it has some similarities with a Mount Rushmore.
Clearly, we're way more creative than that. We all went to breakfast. We thought this up. EJ came up with the name.
But if you want to use a little shorthand, don't be terrified of calling it a Mount Rushmore as well.
It's a Mount Olympus. 4 sports gods of every city. You can go to our social media at Maggie and Pearl on X, or I just tweeted it as well at Maggie Gray. We have the whole schedule, the whole lineup, like concert dates, if you will, of what day we're doing each city. We're launching today. We're going to do this once a day.
My kids would kill me for this because they're huge. He's a Percy Jackson or something like that. They're huge Mount Olympus fans. And they know exactly how many gods they are and who they are, and there aren't 4. But anyway.
We're borrowing.
But I'm good because of the Mount Olympus. That's actually, when did we take that photo for the social media handle for Mount Olympus? I don't remember taking that.
I know. You look amazing in a toga.
Yeah, you got so ripped.
And I'm sure if one more person says that
to
you
you
today.
Is amazing.
That was in college, remember? At all
when you
your
would do
toga
parties? Yeah, Dartmouth.
Dug those up.
I can't believe I said I had toga parties at college. It was called Anciently Old. Like, people don't do toga parties anymore? That's not a thing?
Are you Julius Caesar? All right, without further ado.
Yeah.
He partied with Julius Caesar.
And then that party got real dark. Let's kick this thing off. We're going to do it in the biggest city in the country, and that would be New York. We're not trying to
that, America.
We're not doing an all New York show today, but launching in New York City is not that crazy of an idea. So, New York today, the Mount Olympus, the 4 sports gods for New York City. Perloff, I have not seen his. He has not seen my list. We're doing this blind. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, this and LA, I think, are the 2 hardest cities because there's so many athletes that are worthy of it. But my 4, I'll go in order here.
Yep.
Number 1, Babe Ruth. I'm not going to break down how much breakdown you want to do because he's Babe Ruth. Like, when you're really good at something, you call that person the Babe Ruth of something. That's all you need to know. dude has a candy bar that's still around today. Babe Ruth, I could not find any reason not to get him on my Mount Olympus of New York sports athletes. So he has one spot. Now it gets tricky. I put Joe DiMaggio on here because of all the iconic Yankees, there's a special place for him. He won 9 World Series, second most of all time to Yogi Berra, and he's a better player than Yogi Berra. He is got this special aura about him. Shout out to our good friend of the show, Dr. Rock Positano, who wrote a book, My Dinners with DiMaggio, about him. He's just, I think for me, when I look at the Mount Olympus, it's not just about quality of player. It's also about aura, impact. And Joe DiMaggio was an incredible cultural icon, as you know, in the Simon & Garfunkel song, Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio. To me, he definitely fits on the Mount Olympus. Third, I'm going back to the Yankees.
Whoa.
The Mickey Mantle, because I looked at the competition. Dude won 7 World Series, 3-time AL MVP, Triple Crown, and he's so iconic. You just say Mickey Mantle. I heard Billy Crystal talk about Mickey Mantle. He is a god. We're talking about sports gods. Mickey Mantle is not a normal human being. He is Mickey Mantle. And if he was, I guess he got hurt early in his career too. If he had been healthy his whole career, he would have rewrote the record book. Just the most incredible baseball player. And then fourth, I couldn't do another Yankee.
Hell of a list so far.
What's that?
Hell of a list so far.
Fourth, I could not go back to the Yankees. Well, I'm sorry, Iron Horse. I am the unluckiest man in the world today. Greatest defensive football player of all time, Lawrence Taylor, is going to round it out for me. Heard Bill Belichick describe this guy as a god. Fits very well into that definition. Obviously, the last defensive player to win MVP in 1986. Changed the sport forever. If you ever read the book Blindside by Michael Lewis, basically invented left tackles and tight ends to stop Lawrence Taylor. Incredible game changer. Multiple Super Bowls for the Giants. And I couldn't go all baseball. LT is my fourth.
I mean, what a list. Let's just end the segment forever.
Suddenly, Manny's feeling a lot better today.
That was for you, Manny.
This is the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff. We're going to find the 4 sports gods of every major sports city in the United States and parts of Canada.
Can I say, if you were going to break down my list, I am a little bit worried. A lot of these baseball achievements were, I don't want to say plumbers and firemen, but the leagues weren't integrated. I'm really well aware of it. But just those names are so big that they get bigger than the actual sport they were in to me.
Okay. It's a great list. I mean, this is New York, so it's really, really hard. New York, LA, Boston. I mean, some of these sports cities are just impossible to pick for. But here I go. I also picked Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. The lore of the New York Yankees, born with Babe Ruth, sets the stage for everything that the Yankees have. The trade from Boston that starts the curse. No, Nanette, all these things we never would have ever known about had it not been for Ruth. So he's got to be on the Mount Olympus. I have one other iconic Yankee on my list. It's not Mickey Mantle. It's not Joe DiMaggio. It's not Lou Gehrig. It's not Derek Jeter. It's not Mariano Rivera. It's George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner is on the Mount Olympus of New York icons. Bought the team in the 70s, presided over 9 World Series championships, everything from Reggie Jackson to that core 4, from 77 all the way to 2009. And by the way, sport changed. And the other thing about Steinbrenner and why he deserves to be on the Mount Olympus for sports gods of New York City, along with Al Davis, who was already owning the Raiders in the 60s, but there's no Jerry Jones without George Steinbrenner. There's no Donald Trump without George Steinbrenner, I don't think. Like, his personality, that New York villain, they became the evil empire with George. You're not an evil empire with Joe DiMaggio. Everybody loves Joe. Everyone loves Mickey Mantle. Everyone loved Lou Gehrig. They became evil. They spent more. It was the New York greed that backfired in a lot of ways. So it was the good of it and the bad of it. It was the scandals. It was owning the back pages. It was understanding the media. It was playing this new game that no one else was playing, really, in professional sports. And George was perfected it. Now, yes, he was suspended when the core 4 got together. He was not able to trade those guys away. I understand that for diehard Yankee fans. But Steinbrenner, as far as New York City, when I was on New York City radio, we would get calls once a day. George Steinbrenner would be rolling over in his grave right now if he saw what Brian Cashman was doing to this team, blah, blah, blah. He's still the shadow of Steinbrenner, still looms large today. He deserves to be on this list.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
to George Steinbrenner. How could you trade Jay Buhner? Greatest line in Seinfeld history.
Yeah, and he got
literally the
immortalized
number
as
one best line when Larry David would impersonate him.
My next sports god for New York City, and you're seeing it right now. This is a basketball town. And it's whether it's Rucker Park or playground legends or things like that. And the number one jersey that I see in New York City, being a resident here for the last 20 years, is not Patrick Ewing, and it's not Willis Reed, and it's not Carmelo Anthony, it's not Jeremy Lin, it's Walt Clyde Frazier. He is on the Mount Olympus. He is a sports god in the city. Can you believe he's 80? Not just because of being the two-time champion.
What is going on?
And a fantastic drop on the show. And swish and addition and transition and all that. But, Clyde is responsible for 2 titles. Had it not been for those titles, then New York's history with basketball is just completely different. Ewing is an all-time great player and is remembered by a lot of people as an all-time disappointment. Frazier is a triumph.
Yeah.
So Walt Frazier deserves
also
to be on this
lifetime
list.
announcer, I think.
Oh, and he's got his own style. Yeah. He's not
styling
copying
and profiling
anybody.
in the lane.
Oh, yeah. He's just one of a kind. And the way he dresses. I mean, he still walks to the Garden every day. You see him on the street. He's very accessible. He had a restaurant. You go there, he's sitting there.
Saw him at Kmart when I was a young Cub reporter covering the Knicks. And he was there, and we had a long discussion about carpet shampoo.
Where else can you find stories like that? And listen, maybe if you went to Mickey Mantle's all those years ago, you could probably find Mickey Mantle there too, but you have to buy him 6 drinks.
That's one of the reasons I put him on there, because he had that bar on Central Park South for years.
And finally, the Mount Olympus, Maggie and Perloff, we're kicking it off with New York today, the 4 sports gods, and we're going to go all throughout the country and parts of Canada. I also have Lawrence Taylor. Now, when you are the greatest at something, and everyone says you're the greatest, and you are transformative, and you are amongst your peers and fans pointed to and put as the greatest to play your position, redefine your position. I know there are a lot of Reggie White fans out there, but Lawrence Taylor, despite all of his personal demons and really distasteful things, as far as a New York sports god is concerned, he's there, and it's over Joe Namath, and it's over Eli Manning. And he deserves to be on this list.
Gosh, it's so funny. I gave a whole second list of New York, and I didn't have Walt Frazier or George Steinbrenner. I could go. They were about 10 to 12 on mine. They're great choices.
Yeah. No, there are painful ones that had to be left off for both you and I, but that's our Mount Olympus right there.
I ran into the problem, am I going to put all iconic Yankees on here? But Jackie Robinson was a tough one to leave off.
So Jackie Robinson will clearly be making an appearance, I just think, for a different city.
What city? Kansas City? I have no idea what city you're talking about.
Tune in tomorrow for Maggie and Perloff,
dun,
Mount
dun,
Olympus.
dun. Yeah.
Did he play his whole career in New York? Am I missing something here?
Nope. No, he didn't play his whole career in New York.
Oh, did he get...
I don't know what the hell.
How long was he in LA?
We'll save that for another day, Perloff. Today is the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, and it's New York sports gods.
What about Messier is going to get a lot of love because people who are alive love that 94 Rangers team.
I don't know what the hell you're doing.
And then for me, leaving Luke Aragoff was kind of tough, and Namath.
So there you go. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. That's the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, New York sports gods today. And should we say who we're doing tomorrow?
I mean, the list is out. I mean, the schedule is out. So
yeah, schedule's out right now. Tomorrow is going to be Detroit, and Friday is going to be Cleveland. So today, New York, tomorrow, Detroit, Friday, Cleveland, and the 4 sports gods. What do you think of our list? A little silence.
Good list. I think I think the Yankees are huge, but I do not agree with the Yankees having such a large plurality of this list. I think that you have to represent other sports teams because there's so many sports fans who live here who hate the Yankees.
I threw up. That's what he said, EJ.
But even still, though, even the most ardent person who hates the Yankees, you cannot tell the history of sports in the city without them, right?
No.
Well, one thing I kind of like, sorry, EJ, is that when the Yankees that I picked, baseball was defying this town in the 30s, 40s, 50s with all the teams. And I put those guys in. I was actually thinking about how important Jackie Robinson was in Brooklyn, and I don't know how long Willie Mays was in New York. Yeah, but to me, just like it's all part of that mix for those Yankees. It just happens that they have the most famous guys. But this was, I mean, I picture, like, if you watch a history reel, baseball defined the city for a large part of the 20th century. That's why I have no problem with Steinbrenner for the same reason. And the 70s, Reggie Jackson.
Steinbrenner, to me, turned them heel.
Actually, I looked at Reggie Jackson. He was a big deal.
Of course. It wasn't here for very long.
Yeah.
Not longer than...
He was here a little while. How long was Reggie a Yankee?
For about 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, he's
not
as long as Walt Frazier, not as long as Babe Ruth, you know?
That's funny, but he feels like he made an impact.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
3 home runs in 1 World Series game, of course. Okay, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. The Mount Olympus. And today we did New York City. Tomorrow we're doing Detroit. Friday is Cleveland. Did Perloff and I get it right, 7P?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Don't you usually play that song after a New York team wins? Welcome back, Maggie
Yankees
Perloff
won yesterday, so go fly a kite.
We're doing our Mount Olympus of top athletes in each city, the sports gods of each city. We started with New York, biggest market, hardest one maybe of all the cities because you have to narrow it down to 4. There easily, you can do a list of 20 athletes who belong on this list, but you can only pick 4. I went with Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, and Lawrence Taylor. Maggie?
I also went with Babe Ruth and Lawrence Taylor, but I put George Steinbrenner and Walt Clyde Frazier on my Mount Olympus.
I gave Joe DiMaggio a shower.
Oh, God, I knew that was coming. Oh, boy. Thank you, Pete Rose. I don't think that New York was the hard. It's very hard. I think there are other cities that are just going to be just as hard. And we're launching this today. We're going to be doing all the great sports cities in the country and parts of Canada.
Wait, I disagree.
We're doing Detroit tomorrow, but we have L.A., we have Boston. I mean,
Boston's tough, but name a city where Lou Gehrig's not going to make your. He's arguably the 4th best baseball player in the history of the sport, and he didn't even.
What the hell did you trade Jay Buhner for?
Bogusch, native New Yorker. What do you think of our lists?
I think I like your lists. I mean, I have Babe Ruth and Lawrence Taylor in mine. I think those are almost unanimous.
Yeah. What about people think Joe Namath should be in there?
No, I don't think Namath is. I would complete my 4 with Jeter encompassing all the current-ish Yankees.
The core 4, Mariano.
And then I would personally tack on Mark Messier. I think winning the Rangers' first cup in 54 years, brought here to do that, to do it. Then he was so important during 9/11 in the city. It's hard for me to leave Messier off.
Yeah, wearing the fireman's helmet. But you know, it's funny because there's a whole other part of this with the Islanders and Bossy. Martin Brodeur would probably get in this list.
That's New Jersey. They need their own list. Sorry.
Well, the Giants are technically also New Jersey. But
they're called the New York Giants. They're not called the New York Devils.
You know, I'm kind of bummed that we're not doing the state of New York just because I'm from upstate.
Why? Who are you putting on for Buffalo?
Jim Boeheim?
Not out of those 4 New York. Bill's legend. No chance.
No, I'm saying, what did you say? It said the state of New York.
Yeah, and who's out from your neck of the woods knocking off a New York City person?
I'm saying my own, just New York State.
Oh, you would like to do
second one.
Show one that has no New York City.
Maggie's New York State. Jim Boeheim,
Jim
Steve
Kelly.
Tasker.
I mean,
let's
Jerry.
see.
Did you say Jerry McNamara?
Yeah, Donovan McNabb as well. Throw him in there.
This is like
Billy
the
Owens.
CBI of college basketball.
Anybody who won at Watkins Glen.
What was that really tall guy
Johnny
who played
Flynn
quarterback at University of Buffalo
Jimmer
and became a
Fredette.
tight end?
Yeah.
Tyree Jackson.
Nate Oates, he's at Alabama. So I claim him. That
But
one year,
how
he
long
took
was
Buffalo.
London Fletcher
Sirianni?
in Buffalo? Was he
But
there
he's just
long
from
enough
there.
to make the list?
I really was trying to figure out, is Maggie really trying to make a case for like Bruce Smith over Babe Ruth?
No, but if we have the New York State, then yeah, Bruce Smith's definitely on it.
Right. So can't wait for the Sacramento Mount Olympus, leaving out L.A.
But wait, Bogues, back to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Does it feel a little weird putting a Derek Jeter over a Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, and Joe DiMaggio?
No, because I like the list, and I hate to say this, the list is probably like 3 3/4 Yankees, and you're scrambling for one like year of somebody else to get into this top 4. So you just have to take the Yankees. Like Babe Ruth is all historical Yankees, and then Jeter's the current Yankee.
Yeah, they're symbols.
Yeah.
You know why I think Namath needed to be on there. I think because just like with Clyde Frazier and like everything that encompasses like the fury around like this Knicks run and the pain Knicks fans have, like Joe Namath is that for the Jets fans. Like everything that encompasses the Jets' incompetence, all of the tears, all of the heartache, it all stems from our only highlight as a franchise, which is Joe Namath putting up that number one as he's walking off the field, and he's the reason why the NFL essentially exists. Like,
what a disgrace!
I think he has to make it.
So I would say the one thing about Namath is that, like, I have George Steinbrenner because he's the Yankees turning heel. He's the evil, right? And like the excess and all those things that people don't like about New York, or that, you know, some do, some don't, whatever. I think Namath as Broadway Joe is about the fur coat, the glitz and glamour. That's what Clyde Frazier has. That New York was this like New York was gritty and dirty and all that, but Joe Namath had this like magic appeal.
Yeah, Broadway Joe.
Broadway Joe, right. And so like even now when you watch like Good Morning America or the Today Show, what's every single commercial? Is Broadway shows. It's about trying to get tourists to come to New York to watch these Broadway things and kind of prop up this idea of New York being a very glitzy city when obviously, you know, it has some of that, but LA has a lot of that too.
I literally thought you were talking about there's a Joe Namath ad that runs
like
about.
I thought it was gonna,
it's about some old person product.
Namath, like OTC over the counter medication.
Yes.
I think these Skechers.
Yeah, some sort of Medicare supplement that Joe Namath is on my TV every time. Yeah, he's changed. You know what's so funny though? I'm gonna just come one thing about Walt Frazier, who I love. I'm just a huge fan. When everyone says, "Who's the name that is associated with the Knicks title?" What was that title? What's the shorthand?
Well, it's the Willis Reed moment.
Willis Reed. It's not the, and it was Clyde Frazier's great game, but it was the Willis Reed game.
It was a Willis Reed moment.
But it's definitely,
when he hobbles back
historically,
onto the court.
Nobody calls it the Clyde Frazier game. Everyone calls it the Willis Reed game.
Well,
it's not
everyone
fair.
Is wrong. But the other part is, and you guys back me up on this because this is something where we can do this city first because we live here. You don't see a lot of Willis Reed jerseys.
No.
You see Clyde Frazier jerseys.
I know, but of course it's not going to be Willis Reed. But it is funny that the signature moment, I've heard people talk about this. It was Clyde Frazier's great game, and it's overshadowed by the dude who limped out there for 4 points.
What is going on?
One of the greatest Game 7 final performances ever. Really, Giannis is probably the only person who passed him with his 50-point game against this. Oh, that was Game 6. So, no, yeah, maybe the greatest ever. And it's the Willis Reed game.
What do you have? 30? How many do you have?
He had 36. I think he almost had a triple-double.
Yeah.
But he had like 36. I want to say he had like 12 or 13 assists, and he had like 7 steals, something crazy.
Also, wasn't he perfect from the field?
Didn't LeBron have some great Game 7s?
And made finals history.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, LeBron had the great one against Detroit, obviously. So anyway, this is our launch. Maggie Perloff, the Mount Olympus. We're starting with New York today, Detroit tomorrow, Cleveland on Friday. Bogusch, what's up?
Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam did the heavy lifting in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night, but got plenty of support.
Haliburton got it in. Top in for three!
Mark Boyle on Pacers radio, former Knick. Obi Toppin, the dagger three. Benedict Mathurin came off the bench to score 20 in just over 12 minutes, the fewest minutes needed for a 20-point game in playoff history. And then there's Haliburton, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, while Siakam scored 30 in this 130-121 home win over the Knicks, all after Indy gave away Game 3 with Haliburton only scoring 20.
Just trying to be aggressive, trying to respond. I felt like I let the team down in Game 3, so it's important for me to come out here and just make plays. And, guys put me in position to make plays and trying to play my game. And, man, it's a big win for us.
That was Haliburton postgame on TNT. The series now returning to the Garden, Game 5 tomorrow night, with the Knicks facing elimination. The T-Wolves face elimination tonight, Game 5 in Oklahoma City. After a third-period collapse cost them Game 1 in Dallas, the Oilers have now reeled off 3 straight wins in the NHL's Western Conference Final, a 4-1 home win last night, courtesy of 2 late empty netters. Dallas forward Tyler Seguin running out of time to find the answers.
I don't know. I thought we played good first. Did a lot good, honestly. Just couldn't find any goals tonight.
Dallas outscored 13-2 over these last 3 games. The Boston Red Sox took a 1-0 lead into the bottom of the 9th inning in Milwaukee last night, gave up that lead, and then watched the Brewers load the bases in the bottom of the 10th.
Fly ball deep right. It's going to win the game. Abreu's going back and watching it sail. It's a grand slam. Oh, my goodness, Christian Yelich.
The game-winning grand slam, 5-1 in 10 for the Brewers. Ellie De La Cruz, 2 solo homers totaling 887 feet in the Reds' 7-2 win in Kansas City. Shohei Ohtani is the first player this season with 20 homers. This one coming in a 9-5 win in Cleveland. And the Phillies beat the Braves 2-0 after losing Bryce Harper to a hit by pitch just above his right elbow. X-rays were negative, but probably some more testing today. Kirk Cousins doesn't want to be the Falcons' backup QB. We know that. So he was absent from OTAs yesterday in Jacksonville.
You like that?
Travis Hunter worked only at wide receiver yesterday. He'll be a cornerback today, and that'll be their plan for the rest of the offseason program, switching between those positions. And a busy Tuesday night in the WNBA. The Sky now 0-4 after a 94-89 loss in Phoenix. Angel Reese, 13 points, 15 assists in defeat. The Lynx are 5-0, holding off Seattle 82-77. And Brianna Stewart scored 24 in the Liberty's 95-67 rout of the expansion Valkyries. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you. Who took a flamethrower to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers? We'll tell you about that next. Also, I had one of the weirdest encounters of my life yesterday.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
I wasn't being weird. I was being perfectly normal. But I had the most bizarre, never happened to me before in my life. Nothing like this has ever happened. And it happened yesterday afternoon.
You know, I live kind of a quiet life.
Was it here or near your house?
It was near where I live.
Okay.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah.
And it wasn't Aaron Rodgers?
Nope.
No.
I don't live in the same neighborhood as Aaron Rodgers.
Big shout out to all the women backing up the fellas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to guarantee that none of you have ever had an encounter like this either.
I said, you don't know me.
Aaron Rodgers was not involved in this in any way. Spoiler.
Exactly.
Were your huge feet involved in any way?
Surprisingly, they were not.
Okay.
What happened yesterday? I will tell you that. And who was taking out Rodgers? All that next.
You don't know what the hell you're doing.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Maggie Perloff Show. No, not playing that song because the Knicks won. They lost. Indiana Pacers 1 win away from the NBA Finals. Sorry, Manny. But we are doing the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff. We're doing 4 sports gods of all the major sports cities in the United States and Canada. And we kicked it off with New York today, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hopefully making Manny feel better because it was a tough night for New York. If you want to recap, I went Mantle, Ruth, DiMaggio, and LT. Actually, now that I look at my list, I definitely have a boring one, but individually, I couldn't possibly not put any of those guys on there.
And
Maggie?
I went with Babe Ruth and Lawrence Taylor also, but George Steinbrenner and Walt Frazier are the rest of my 4 sports gods.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
The Mount Olympus. We get to the weird encounter that I had yesterday in just a moment, but Kevin is in Milwaukee. What's up, Kev?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Appreciate you. Love you guys.
Thank you.
But I hate that when the talking heads are talking about like that one survey that 450 NBA players took. But realistically, the Athletic did that survey, making Haliburton the most overrated player.
Yeah.
But only 13 players actually voted for him.
I know.
13 out of 450 isn't really overrated.
I know.
I can't stand this when I hear it. I'm from Milwaukee.
Wait, but
I'm a Giannis guy.
Yeah,
I'm
Kevin. But you're saying that whole story is overblown. I totally agree with you. I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that on Brian Windhorst's podcast. It actually I thought it was 14 votes said he was overrated. So, but then people love this storyline.
Wait, but hold on one second. This is a little bit like when you have a local election. So there's 560 players in the NBA, period. So it's almost like when someone runs for school board in your local town, sometimes they win or lose by getting like 150 votes,
you're still calling him
250. It's a
overrated.
small sample size, but it's also a small pool
Very
of
small
people.
sample size, but you're the one using the words overrated.
Well,
And
here's
I'm
the
like,
other part about it, Kevin.
This should be just taken from the lexicon.
Okay, but here's the other part about it, which I think was funny. And Haliburton himself poked fun at himself about this when he posted him with a gold medal around his neck and said, when you get an A on the group project and you didn't do any of the work. He made the Olympic team and didn't play. So I think that was a little part of it, too. That's not his fault. It's Steve Kerr's fault, or it's the rotations or whatever. But that was another part.
The Athletic article. That was way before the Athletic article.
No, I'm just saying, though, that
the Athletic article came out in January. He did that thing in the summer for the Olympics.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It all plays in. Like, maybe there were guys who were salty about him making the Olympic team, not playing and being considered a gold medalist.
13 or 14 people were salty about it. That's not worth.
Well, it sounds like it's 16 because you were definitely salty about it.
No, I'm 100% with Kevin. It's the most overrated story. Sorry, Kevin. It's the most overrated storyline of the playoffs by far, because when I heard there were only 14 people who thought he was overrated, and plus, like, how do you fill out that question? Who are you going to say? It's hard. You're like, fine, I'll go with Haliburton. I think that storyline, he's probably using it as jet fuel, is ridiculous. Like, of course, the rest of the NBA doesn't think he's hot. Just because 14 guys voted for him.
Well, but I guess here's the thing. Even 14 people out of 560, they all came up with him, right? 14 people. It's not like it was 5 people on the questionnaire and they all picked C.
It's kind of like...
how many people actually voted on that? Like, how many people get that in the mail and just, like, throw it in the garbage?
No, I don't think they do it in the mail.
Whatever voted
they do
on
it in the locker room.
It was like
yeah. Well,
you don't think Maggie, you don't think this storyline is a little overstated?
Of course. I mean, it's fine. Listen, I actually think that you should like it. If you're a Haliburton fan or a Pacer fan, who doesn't love the fact that he's proving everyone wrong? Like, overrated. The guy's hit more incredible shots in this postseason than almost anybody. So,
but he's not really proving anybody wrong, because only 14 guys voted for him to be overrated. So he's proving, like, I have no idea who these guys are. I'm sure that player survey is filled out with all the intensity of Jalen Brunson's defense in the fourth quarter. I'm sure they just like, whatever, I don't care. Fine, Tyrese Haliburton. I don't think that. I just think people love that story, and I agree with Kevin. It's just a little bit. What I heard on the Windhorse said, well, only 14 people voted for him. I was like, wait, what? I've been walking around saying that the NBA hates this guy.
I think the Olympic thing had a little something to do with it, too. But that's me. 888-710-4ISN. Okay, something happened to me yesterday, and I guarantee this has not happened to any of you. It never happened to me before. Can I tell you what happened?
Yeah, please.
So my kid didn't have school yesterday, so they got 2 days off for Memorial Day. Fine. So
somebody put these kids in school, please.
I know. So that we're in our, we go out to lunch, and we're in, our little downtown, and it's probably 2:00. And there's a coffee shop that's down there that closes early, but they leave the chairs out so people can just sort of sit and walk around.
How nice.
Yeah. And so I walk by, and I see this guy, and he's sitting there with this, really beautiful woman, and he's just got this very distinctive look, like, oh, I've seen that person, but I know who that is. That's a famous person. And I walk by, and I'm like, no way.
I said, you don't know me.
So luckily, our car was parked right in front of where he was sitting, and he was on the phone, talking on speaker loudly, and she's there. The companion is also, on their phone. They seem like they were kind of talking about important stuff, bro. So I put Lucas in the car. He's still in a car seat, so I get him in there. And I get in the car, and I'm looking back. I'm like, oh, my God, this is that guy. I don't know what he'd be doing in my small town in New Jersey. I have no idea why he's just sitting here.
George Steinbrenner.
But this is him. So I'm like, all right, I don't want to be, crazy fangirl, but it'd be cool if my kid got a picture with this guy. He's not going to have any clue who he is. But for future, it's not an athlete. For a future thing, and have this photo and always have this crazy story of meeting this legend in our small town. Sammy Hagar from Van Halen.
I think we've run into him.
Hold on one second. Yeah. The story's not over. Get out of here.
Okay.
Mute his mic. So I'm like, I think Sammy Hagar is sitting right there. This is crazy. Right? Why would he be sitting and basking? I'll say where I live. Why would he be sitting in this small town in New Jersey and just sitting here with this beautiful woman? She's got these cool tattoos. They looked like rock stars, both of them. So I I get Lucas out of the back of the car, like get him out of the car seat. I'm like, all right, come here. I wait until he's off the phone. I'm like lurking a little bit, but trying not to be conspicuous. And I go up to him and I'm like, I'm sorry to bother you. Are you Sammy Hagar? It was a Sammy Hagar impersonator.
Oh, man.
Wait a minute.
He was wearing a Cabo Wabo t-shirt. I have a photo of him that I took from the front seat of my car.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It is a Sammy Hagar impersonator. And I didn't believe him because he looks so much like Sammy Hagar that I was like, all right, I understand if you don't want to take a photo, but like you're not convincing me that you're not him. So he pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of him with the real Sammy Hagar. It turns out he's really doing a Sammy Hagar impersonation of like what Sammy looked like in 1989. And Sammy Hagar looks different in 2025.
That's awesome.
And so I have the photo and I'm going to post it on my social.
So you saw a guy who is definitely older in 2025 and you said, oh, that's what he looked like in 1989. This must be him without aging.
I'm showing Perloff right now.
A bit older than 1989 Sammy
Yeah.
Hagar. So you could plausibly be like, you could think Sammy Hagar looked like that now.
The
That's not out
hair
of reach.
was 1989 hair. Apparently he's changed it. I'm not up on Sammy Hagar, but he looks exactly like him. And then he's like, would you like me to still take a photo with your son? And I was like, well, no.
Why? I mean, why not? You might as well just for the bit.
I drove away and I was like, I should have done the photo, but I have the photo that I took from the front seat of my car so you guys can see what I was like gawking at, and I couldn't believe. And he's wearing the Cabo Wabo shirt, which is Sammy Hagar's tequila.
A little bit. I don't know what shape. He's a little bit out of shape, maybe.
But like, what do you think Sammy Hagar's in shape now? 2025. It's like
he looks a
aging
little
rock
like
star.
Bruce Valanche. Yeah. No, right. Like he just looks. See, I could buy the. There's enough age there that you don't think like. So what's Sammy Hagar look like now? I think he has short hair now.
Yeah, he's got his hair shorter now. I think he's got some, maybe just a goatee or something. Also, I don't know.
What's he doing sitting there?
He was like on the phone, and the woman here I zoomed in. She was just like really, like also really pretty. Like it all just checked out. Like they look both like they were rock stars.
Well, maybe she thought he was Sammy Hagar too.
Wait, is he a professional Sammy Hagar impersonator?
Yeah.
Wow, is there a market for that?
So that's what I was
Evidently.
thinking. I didn't want to be rude. Who is the most random impersonation you could be doing? Like, I guess Sammy Hagar's not that random. You have half the Van Halen catalog that he could do.
There was a Jalen Brunson lookalike competition in New York City a
I
couple
saw
of days
that.
ago.
None of those guys look like Jalen Brunson.
Not a single one, no.
The big Timothy Chalamet
Seen that.
lookalike
They
contest.
do a lot
yes,
of
they do
Drake
that.
ones too. They do one I feel like every week where a bunch of people who look like Drake show up at a bar and start doing his songs. It's very weird.
Okay, but the question is, have you ever walked up to one of them, asked them for a picture, thinking that it was actually Drake or Jalen Brunson? Or...
Yeah, no one actually thought Jalen Brunson was that the Jalen Brunson looked like. I actually thought this was Sammy Hagar, and I wouldn't take no for an answer for like the first 3 times.
Still don't know what this guy looks like. Never heard of this guy before.
You've never heard of Sammy Hagar?
No.
Have you ever heard of David Lee Roth?
No.
Have you ever heard of Van Halen?
Jump?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the board.
Yeah, I mean, when you said Sammy Hagar, I was like, that name is famous, but I would not know what he looks like.
Couldn't pick out bro in the lineup.
Definitely not.
You know what thing about him is he's very distinctive looking, so I think an impersonator, he lends himself to an impersonator.
Yeah, this guy's nailing him. I mean,
I
I
definitely
stopped.
I definitely would have thought he was probably a celebrity, given like his look you're describing. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that guy must be famous. Like, who is he? Did anyone else think it was him though? That's my question.
There just weren't a lot of people around. But like I would imagine if he was in a more busy street, he'd probably get stopped every 30 seconds because he wants to be stopped.
Every 30 seconds. Apparently he's rich. These guys don't know who he is.
Sorry.
It would be about 90 seconds if BJ and I were walking by with Maggie.
Every 2 weeks. No.
You guys know I Can't Drive 55? Never heard of it?
Oh, I thought you couldn't drive it over the speed limit because you have like a
That's
replacement tire or something.
It's a
Nah,
song.
nothing, couldn't
We
tell.
should. Yeah, you should probably come back with that song. You'll enjoy it, Manny.
I'm sure I
Oh,
will.
Manny, if you just discovered Aerosmith, you're going to love Van Halen.
Who's Arrow?
Sorry,
Well,
the song they're using on the NBA rejoin.
I just want to be
commercials.
clear. I was going to Sammy Hagar's solo catalog. Sammy Hagar was a star before Van Halen. He kind of filled in because David Lee Roth lost his mind. But David Lee Roth is back performing. You can see him live.
I know. He was a really successful radio host for a long time. Well,
Tommy Lee Jones? Who?
no, not Tommy Lee Jones is the actor. Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. Is that who you're talking about?
Who are these people?
Oh, Manny.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, boats in the water. We're off and running. This is our goal, and singular goal, to find the 4 sports gods of every major sports city in America and parts of Canada. We kicked it off with New York today. We're going to be doing a new city every single day at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So for New York, Perloff, remind us who you had as your 4 sports gods.
I went kind of chalky. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, and Lawrence Taylor.
I matched you with Babe Ruth and Lawrence Taylor, but I went George Steinbrenner and Walt Clyde Frazier are on my Mount Olympus. Today we're doing New York. Tomorrow we're going to do Detroit. Friday is Cleveland, and we go on and on and on from there. So really excited about this. This was a fun one. It's a tough one because there's so many different teams in this particular city. And one of them last night, very much disappointed EJ and Manny on the other side of the glass, because that was the Knicks who had 17 turnovers last night, played almost, I would say no defense, but certainly not good enough defense. And the Pacers were able to run up 130 points on them. Tyrese Haliburton continues to make this incredible name and legacy for himself. I know, Pearl, you don't think if the Pacers win, they're going to be able to do much in the next round, but that's a conversation for the next round. Yeah. Right now, Haliburton in his second straight year in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he has been the guy who has just gone shot for shot with Jalen Brunson, and he was phenomenal last night.
But is it really a different conversation? I know what you're saying. I'm not going to anoint Tyrese Haliburton as some NBA MVP because he's beating up this Knicks team. I think the Knicks are on fumes. I think I see them a little differently than you. Yes, they're a good team, but I don't think anyone expected them to be here. Then all of a sudden they beat the Celtics and the bar changed so much. We're seeing their flaws in real time. I mean, their best 2 players, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, are not good on defense.
Yep.
So how do you work around that? I think Tom Thibodeau, the coach, puts a lot of Josh Hart in there to try to help out, and the formula is just not working.
So the question, though, is it's fine for you to have that kind of perspective, like, hey, the Knicks should just be happy to be here or something like that, or that both teams, I guess, should just be happy to be here. I don't think that's the perspective they have. And I do think changes will come this offseason. Now, I don't know if they're really tied into this roster because of all the first-round picks they traded for Mikal Bridges, and they just got Towns. I think the coach is on the table. I don't think the GM is going anywhere. But, yes, you've made it this far and this deep into the playoffs, but I don't think that's going to be good enough for Knicks fans. I don't think they're just going to sit back and say, you know what a fun season this was. I think they're going to think it was a disappointing season.
That is so funny to me because they all thought they were going to get killed by the Celtics, and now they're disappointed. Again, I think the bar has moved. And you said, there's nothing. I don't think they have any moves up their sleeves. They made their big move for Mikal Bridges. And there are some games where Bridges has been a great 2 option to Jalen Brunson. He had some good games early on in the playoffs. I don't think it paid off. I just look at the way they're built. What was it? Rick Carlisle, the Pacers coach, after Game 3 said, you know why we lost tonight? Because the Knicks went with their good defensive players. Their starting 5 is just not good on defense, right? These are not good defensive players, so your roster is incomplete. And if the Knicks fans think this is an NBA title team, I think they're fooling themselves.
Yeah, well, last night, those 2 guys you mentioned, Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, were also not good offensively in the fourth quarter. They couldn't get shots. They were getting denied by the Pacers. And, credit to the Pacers, they've taken their opportunity. I know you love to be the guy who asterisks everything and pokes holes in everyone's resume and all that. But, look at what they've done. They took down the Cavs. Now they're here with the Knicks, and we'll see what happens in the next round if it's OKC.
Yeah, or you can just go back and look at NBA hardwood classics and look at the New Jersey Nets Lakers finals. That's what we're looking at.
You think it's going to be like Denver and Miami?
I think it's going to be like the early 2000s where the West was so much better than the East that you didn't have competitive finals. I'd be very surprised. I'm not going to say no chance. I'd be shocked if the winner of this series, and by the way, I don't think the Knicks are done by any stretch of the imagination. I think these games are going to be crazy from now on. Unless Cat is really injured with his knee, I could see New York winning Game 5, and then, boom, the pressure's on Indiana, and then we'll have some crazy Game 6. So, I don't think the series is over. But, yeah, I think the Thunder are going to slaughter whoever comes out of this.
888-710-4ISN. So that series resumes tonight. Thunder and T-Wolves, that Thunder are also up 3-1. Okay, let's get to our pal.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Getting absolutely cooked by a Steelers legend. That's tough. Terry Bradshaw was on radio. Let me get this. 103.7 The Buzz. Terry Bradshaw taking a flamethrower to Aaron Rodgers. Let's hear it.
What do you think about possibly Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback?
That's a joke. He shouldn't. That is just, to me, is a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? I mean,
that's
that
not the Steelers' way, right?
No, man, that guy needs to stay in California and go, somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there.
How did we never think of chew on bark? We've been doing this Rodgers bit for like a year. Chew on bark is amazing, and Bradshaw wasn't done.
I had to go over and introduce myself to him. He's not. I had to go, hey, Aaron, I'm Terry Bradshaw. I know he knows me, but I just felt like I better tell him who I am. Yeah. And not, you walk in there and you get in his presence and you feel like it's going to start snowing. Oh, hold it. Roger, that was supposed to be something. There you go. Failure over his head.
Bradshaw not lost the fastball, I guess.
Wait, I don't understand. What does that line mean?
That it's going to start snowing? I mean, like something bad's going to happen? I think it was kind of dark. That's the way I took it.
I've been trying. It must be an old person thing. I'm trying to figure out what this means.
He doesn't mean drugs, right?
No,
Is that
no.
what?
I didn't take it that way.
That was my first.
Yeah, that's what when he said that, I was like, oh, is that? Jeez.
I'm sorry. I did not take it that way.
That's what I thought.
Like bad weather's on the way. Like bad things are coming. That's how I took it.
But he said he was a California. Yeah, okay. I don't really understand that.
How did Rodgers and Terry
reference.
Bradshaw never meet? All those Fox
But
games?
wait, let me ask you.
Anyway.
Is that Terry Bradshaw? He's kind of a polarizing figure in Pittsburgh, though. I thought he didn't really speak for Pittsburgh. I thought they didn't like him there for some reason.
No, I think he's been outspoken for sure about the franchise. And they had an up and down relationship when he was playing for the franchise. So, sure. But, is he kind of right? Not that it's a joke. I wouldn't take it that far. It's definitely not a joke. You can see the logic. You can understand it. But what are you doing in there? And I take out the woo-woo stuff and the ayahuasca and all that. Just what are you trying to accomplish, football-wise as far as finding your next Terry Bradshaw and your next Ben Roethlisberger? Aaron Rodgers doesn't get you any closer to that.
But not signing Aaron Rodgers might not get you that much closer either. That's the sort of core debate we've been having. Go with Mason Rudolph, go 8-9 and sit at number 13 and take the... that's probably what's going to happen right now. They're going to get a mid-level first round or mid-first round quarterback.
So there was more from Bradshaw here, which I'll just read it for you. He actually loves Kenny Pickett. Said, I liked him at Pitt. I know him. I know what he's like. When they got him to Pittsburgh, they didn't protect him. They didn't get him an offensive line. They wanted to run the football, but they didn't have an offensive line that could protect, and they didn't have weapons, and he had no wide receivers. Then they throw a kid in there for 2 years, and you've got an offense that doesn't fit and doesn't work. And, now they're saying Pickett's a failure. He wasn't a failure. The Steelers were a failure.
He's a bum.
So that's where Terry Bradshaw is on.
Yeah. I don't think that's probably not a popular take in Pittsburgh. People would probably rather take Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Pickett. That didn't work well.
No, I get it, but you've kind of said the same thing about, was it really Pickett or was it the Steelers' offense, which was not creative? Their offensive line wasn't very good, and did Pickett really have a chance to develop?
Yeah, I did say that. Matt Canada was his offensive coordinator, was terrible, but I'm not sure I've seen enough out of Pickett in his 2 years. Multiple people told me he was the fourth best quarterback in the 3-man quarterback competition with the Eagles. Then he got in, he was okay. I haven't seen. Have you seen anything with him?
Well, we're going to see if he starts games for the Cleveland Browns this year.
I've never heard a Steeler fan say, I wish Kenny Pickett was back. That's the first time I've heard that.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Wouldn't it be funny if Rodgers goes on to have this really fun late career with the Steelers? Now he, Bradshaw, Roethlisberger are like the three guys who get invited back to dinners. And
well, I got to tell you, nobody saw Brett Favre and the Vikings taking off like it did. People thought, he's getting back with Darrell Bevell. It might be okay. But then it exploded out of nowhere. Just tell you, 2 years off the foot injury. It's kind of hard to see, but he could be good. No?
Interesting that you guys left Aaron Rodgers off your Mount Olympus for New York City.
What a egregious mistake.
What's
the opposite of Mount Olympus?
What a snub.
Well, who are the four GOATs, not greatest of all time, but ultimate GOATs of New York City?
Yeah, so we're doing the Maggie Perloff, the Mount Olympus of Maggie Perloff. We're trying to do the four sports gods of every major sports city and every great sports city in this country. You know who I got a little hung up on? I would never put him on, but A-Rod. Like, as far as impact, like, he was such a big thing.
Who? A-Rod?
No, I'm
Alex
not putting
Rodriguez?
him on. I'm not putting him on. I did put him on. I put George Steinbrenner or Babe Ruth.
The Timberwolves owner?
And he wants to forget that he played for his team.
Oh, come on. They don't win the 09 World Series without him.
Oh, my God.
And win 09 without Hideki, but I digress.
Well, he was the MVP of the World
They
Series.
won one World Series with the biggest payroll for 20 years, and like A-Rod gets credit for that?
It's
Come
a
on.
success.
Dude, I mean, unless hitting a home run when you're up 7-2 in the 8th inning, a solo shot is not what I call a great ball player.
Would not have beat the Angels without him. Let's go to Dominic, who's in San Francisco. Dom, you have a Mount Olympus of New York sports athletes. Who are your four?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. This is a lot of fun, and it's really, really tough.
Yep.
Mount Olympus, and then you also mentioned Mount Rushmore, so that's quite the conundrum now.
Well,
There's
only
only
radio
one
hacks
God,
do Mount
and-
Rushmore. We're professionals.
That's
who
not
do
true.
Mount Olympus.
No, some of my good friends
Okay.
do Mount Rushmore, and Mount Rushmore is fine.
Well, they've done it
Mount
already, so we can't
Olympus
do it.
had only one God, and that was Zeus.
Yeah.
The rest were kind of close. They're all baseball players. As far as gods go, as far as the Big Apple, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, and Lou Gehrig. The fourth one is murder. A god is somebody that's going to be there forever, and the contemporaries you just don't know yet. So I've got to put Mickey Mantle in there because it was between Mantle, Roger Maris, and Aaron Judge. And I can't, in good conscience, put Aaron Judge in there. 'Cause when you compare him to Ruth, to Mantle, to DiMaggio, to Gehrig, he's not a god.
Well, that's
He's
the thing, Dom.
really good.
He may get
Not a
there,
god.
though, right? We're in the middle.
It's got to be time. And right now, this phone call is taking place in 2025, and Aaron Judge isn't a god. Maybe yet, but not a god.
So, Dom, I'm glad you brought this up because thank you for the phone call. This is going to be a future conundrum. It wasn't so much with New York.
Aaron Judge.
Because Judge is amazing, but no, you can't. He's not going to knock off Joe DiMaggio right now, obviously.
Well, he's got to win some titles, and that's the real problem with his legacy right now.
Yeah, and it's a lot harder for him to do it now than it was for Joe.
Yeah, no, but I think it's disappointing that he hasn't won yet. He's got to win to cement his great status.
Oh, not just that, but he was the fifth inning. It started with him. It was his blunder. The irony is he's actually a really great fielder and a really good defensive, like center field, right field more. But and the fact that he made the error that kind of caused the floodgates to open is crazy. But there actually is, from my opinion, there's only two current athletes who are still playing today who could and will make it onto one of these Mount Olympuses.
I mean, one of the
in all the sports.
Only two?
I think only two, because I was thinking about it. I was looking at all the cities. We're doing Cleveland tomorrow. We're doing Detroit tomorrow and Cleveland on Friday.
I got one.
I got
mine.
two current athletes or two current baseball players?
Two current athletes
I have a lot.
Oh, God, there's a ton.
Yeah.
who are still playing, who are going to be gods.
Absolutely. I mean, there's one obvious
There's one obvious one.
He goes by one name.
Yes, it's
I
LeBron.
want my damn respect,
Right.
too.
We'll save that.
Okay.
I think there's one other that I was thinking about.
Well, I think Curry, I've already done
okay.
Steph Curry's going to challenge for Bay Area.
And then Mahomes.
Yeah, we are doing Kansas City. Okay,
Yeah,
so maybe
I mean,
there's a little bit
Mahomes.
more. I was thinking about one that's going to be a little more polarizing than those guys.
Yeah, I'll bet you at the end of the day, there's probably 9 or 10 because it gets, not everyone is leaving Lou Gehrig off. There are some cities that it's a little harder.
But I'm excited to do all these cities. So again, New York was today. We're going to do Cleveland, Detroit tomorrow. I keep messing that up. New York today, Detroit tomorrow, Cleveland on Friday, and then we'll get it started again next week. You can see all the dates at Maggie and Pearl on X.
What do you think about the idea of Dominic wanting to put all four Yankees?
Yeah, I've thought about it. Now, by the way, in 1947, for example, there were 16 teams in baseball, and the Yankees didn't have to go through a robust playoffs, and they kept winning World Series. So you could easily say Aaron Judge has, as you mentioned, a much harder assignment than Joe DiMaggio did. But still, he's Joe D. I mean, iconic.
Well,
I don't think Aaron
56
Judge
game
is,
hitting streak, no matter what era you played in, is
yes,
unbelievable.
And Aaron Judge, you're right, could get there. I think he has to win a title and really, I don't know if the home runs alone, because home runs after post PEDs don't mean the same thing. So I would argue that Aaron Judge has a long way to go.
I gave Joe DiMaggio a shower.
I was wondering about Brunson because EJ is very convinced that Brunson is going to go down as an all-time Knick. Obviously, he has to win also, but is Brunson? I don't think so.
He's pinned behind Ewing for sure, in my opinion.
Well, and I have Walt Frazier, who won 2 titles. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets
Clyde.
If he gets Knicks to the finals, I was going to say, he's behind Clyde, but if he gets Knicks to the finals, he's ahead of Ewing.
If he gets to the finals and they say they don't do well?
Do well. I mean,
I think Ewing was a monstrous figure in the city for a long, long time.
He was.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, I love Pat. But I think the one thing about Clyde that, Maggie mentioned about how there's so many jerseys with him and how he's still very famous and popular. I think the one thing, too, is this is a city of guards. We idolize the point guard. And I think that also is something to Clyde's ledger that makes him special, too, is that he's an all-time great point guard. And Jalen Brunson also be an all-time great point guard. I think he would pass Ewing.
But this is Brunson's first Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, Ewing lived deep in the playoffs. He ran into Jordan all the time, got to Game 7 of NBA Finals. Like, Ewing was a hugely impactful player. Brunson has a long way to go.
Sure, but I think, and that's very true, but I think Brunson bringing a team out of, Ewing did too, but out of a real futility as a guy who was not expected to do this. People thought he was overpaid, that this was going to be a bad signing. Like, he kind of put the Knicks back on the map in a major way. I think that does matter in a big way.
How about the Mets? You a lot of Mets fans here.
Yeah, that was hard to leave him off. I think it probably would have been Seaver. It was harder.
Seaver also a Red, though. I mean,
yeah, but that was a all-time bonehead trade.
Blunder.
Yeah, that was goes down as one of the worst trades ever. But I think that Jacob deGrom had a chance, but he didn't want to play here anymore. And Mark Messier is really hard. That's a hard one because he did mean so much to the city. Now, just a little heads up here. I said Detroit is tomorrow. Cleveland is Friday. Just a heads up, Monday is Dallas. So we'll start with a bang on Monday. We were talking about the other teams who are still alive in the postseason. Indianapolis will be on June 12th.
Tyrese Haliburton getting ready for that spot.
I was thinking about it.
Ugh.
No.
By June 12th, they might be NBA champions, right? Or maybe it'll be in Game 2, Game 3.
Anyway, so you can go to @Maggie and Pearl, and you can see all the cities that we're going to be doing for the Mount Olympus, the 4 sports gods.
People say that all the time.
You know what I'm curious about for this whole thing as we do this? Like, when Maggie made the first swing at a non-player. How many non-players make these lists?
Yeah, I have George Steinbrenner.
How many coaches?
What the hell did you trade J. Buhner for?
Would there be any general managers, presidents? Like, that's going to be interesting, too, because that becomes tricky.
Well, we're doing Dallas on Monday, so we're going to test that theory. And then Portland is going to be on Tuesday for our friends in Oregon.
When you're general manager, of which I am.
Milwaukee is June 4th, Kansas City, June 5th, Philadelphia, June 6th. I want to opt out of the Philly one.
Philly's actually really easy.
Calling sick.
Philly is like some of them, Detroit tomorrow, like some of them just slap you in the face. Like you can't, Philly is somewhat, there's only one choice. It's like there's certain cities that have 3 like stone cold gods. And then really you have no choice. I mean.
Don't give it away yet.
I won't give it away, but like.
They all have to be real though.
Right.
What it can't be a fictional boxer.
No Rocky.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying like there are certain cities. Boston, it's funny. They have 5 slap you in the face. Sports guys, like you cannot. There are 5 guys you can't leave off, which makes a problem.
Wild thing, Vaughn is not up for voting for Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably go with Corbin Burnson as the third baseman.
Come on, Dorn.
Roger Dorn, years of contribution. You're just saying one hot run in the playoffs, man.
Luke Collins would make it in Minneapolis, but he was too distracted in that last at-bat in the little big league.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Just a bit outside.
Love a little Harry Doyle, a little Bob Uecker. So next segment, we're going to talk to one of our absolute favorites who's going to lend his expertise to this Mount Olympus. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He is one of the funniest comedians in New York City. The kid Mero is going to join us. You may remember him from Jesus and Mero on Showtime. So many incredible things that he's done, and he's hilarious. So he's going to give his Mount Olympus in just moments. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break.
With up, it plays that daily dose of take so bold they might just roast. From sports hot drama to a GOAT debate, we're tuning in, it's never second rate. And who's in the chat? We see you shine, dropping takes that toe the line. For swinging that sword, dropping truth bombs we can't ignore. Chocolate thunder, free throws, got the vibe, drop the fire so smooth it's a whole new tribe. LPW brings the stats real clean, breaking it down like a football machine. California native got that West Coast flair, sunny takes with that laid back stare. Jay in that so. Now Bailey rode into town with suspicion in his eyes, saying Kaplan's got a secret and he's hiding it inside. Zach Jobs lost in darkness, Ryan Stream's a mess, Chappelle Wolf's just a spinning wheel. Oh Lord, what a distress. But Maggie and Perloff, they shine so bright like a star in the desert on a Texas night. Daily says it's shady, but I swear on my name, I just push the buttons, I don't play no games. Now Peter Bellotti, well he don't show, and that man's supposed to be running this show. If there's a tech problem, don't look at me, ask the guy who's missing more than Tennessee teeth. So Davey, my friend, don't spread that lie, I ain't no bandit, I just make strings fly. But Maggie and Perloff, they shine so bright like a star in the desert on a Texas night. Daily says it's shady, but I swear on my name, I just push the buttons, I don't play no games. Now Peter Bellotti, well he don't show, and that man's supposed to be running this show. If there's a tech problem, don't look at me, ask the guy who's missing more than Tennessee teeth. So, Debbie, my friend, don't spread that lie, I ain't no bandit, I just make strings fly. Maggie and Perloff, they shine so bright like a star in the desert on a Texas night. Daily says it's shady, but I swear on my name, I just push the buttons, I don't play no games. Oh, don't play no games. Oh, babe, my friend, don't spread that lie, I ain't no bandit, I just make streams fly. Now Bailey rode into town with suspicion in his eyes.
1 minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Doing Mount Olympus, 4 sports gods in every major city, starting with New York. Andrew Bogusch here. I didn't like yours.
Oh, thanks.
Derek Jeter over Joe DiMaggio. God, the overrating of Derek Jeter will continue the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because I have to represent the young people.
I was here
Young
in New York.
people, he was playing in the 90s.
Yeah.
Manny wasn't
I
even
was
alive.
in the bars with Derek Jeter. I was single with Derek Jeter, losing out to him. I'll give you, he's the coolest dude, but he wasn't even the best shortstop of his time.
I will 99.9% of the time will love to go down the Derek Jeter overrated path with you. I agree 100%. But in this exercise, I think he gets a spot because everyone that's still alive that's a Yankee fan is going to vote for him because all the DiMaggio people are dead.
He is a sports god. I will give you that. I know what you mean.
Let's just pause on the fact that Perloff put himself in New York City club scene competing with Derek Jeter for women.
He came to Fordham one night. He came to the Fordham bars. He and Shane Spencer.
Oh, my God. I'm sure. Yeah, that's a guy who I actually saw in the bars was Shane Spencer.
Yeah.
At any hour of the night.
There's something about, I'm just imagining being the woman in the situation where you're just like, well, I'm talking to this guy, but now Derek Jeter just walked in. And it's like, I don't run a 4.540, but I think I would.
Yeah. Shane Spencer, man, that's a smart guy right there. Get with Jeter because Jeter can't have all the women.
Yeah, but Shane...
just pick up the driftwood?
Yeah, exactly. The leftovers are just going to be just elite.
I actually, if I'm remembering the story correctly, I was a freshman. They were there because Shane Spencer was trying to date a senior at Fordham. Like Jeter was the wingman.
How old was he? Probably not that old, actually. When Shane Spencer had his moment, he was pretty young.
Yeah, he was not that old.
That was a 98-99 school year.
Oh, God.
So I think Manny was in second grade?
Yeah, no, I was probably like 2 years old.
Okay, pre-K?
Still in diapers. Literally babbling and drooling all over myself.
So still like today.
A little like this morning. When Mero comes on, the kid Mero, who's one of our favorite comedians in New York. Legend. I want to ask him this question. If you could drift off of any celebrities like female, how do you even put this? Like,
there's only one negative way.
The entourage?
Oh, I was going to...
Oh, grenade?
No, I was say sloppy seconds.
Oh.
But that's actually not the right. That's not the right aesthetic.
No, that's not the apples to apples. But if you could like just be the wingman for any New York athlete, it's Jeter going away, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Jeter. But I wouldn't see. The thing is, if I was in a bar and I was talking to a girl and Derek Jeter came in and took that girl, that'd be the coolest thing that ever happened to me, right? Like, who would not be like so stoked about that, right? I'm like, you would not believe. I was talking to this girl and she was good looking enough for Derek Jeter to steal her from me.
I wonder, does that go with the reverse? If I was talking to a guy and Emily Ratajkowski came in and all of a sudden I just never saw him again, I'd be like,
oh, be great.
I would understand it. I'm not saying that. I wouldn't be jealous or mad.
You should go for Emily Ratajkowski. Emily Ratajkowski.
Just saying.
Universal.
Yeah.
I don't know why
I
think
would
she's
ditch
the
a guy
Jeter.
in 2 seconds for it if I were you. Not to put myself in your shoes. Yes.
That's hilarious. Headlines?
They stormed back into the series with their latest 20-point rally, but almost no carryover for the Knicks in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night. The Pacers scoring 43 points in the first quarter, had 102 through 3, and the Knicks committed 17 turnovers. Head coach Tom Thibodeau.
It's part of the grind, part of the story. Just, we just got to learn from it. And we've been part of a lot of different games, different series. But yeah, just a little gut check time.
That is not Tom Thibodeau. That might be Mikal Bridges taking a spot.
Either way, suddenly his voice really healed up.
Yeah.
Got that Tyrese Haliburton voice change.
Either way, the Knicks lost last night.
That might be Mikal Bridges. That's all you got for us?
Imagine being Tom Thibodeau's wingman.
I've been trying. I got to be honest. No one said anything that I deem useful last night from either side. So I've been trying to find 8 different combinations of sound, and I did have a Bridges cut loaded for a second. Finally found a good Tibbs chunk, and I guess I didn't put it in the script correctly.
Wait,
so
sorry, what? To go back, young Tom Thibodeau was the hunk, right? Maggie couldn't believe that story.
You keep saying that. You showed me a photo.
Yeah.
It's like not
you didn't
video
like him in
evidence.
that tracksuit, in that T-Wolves tracksuit with the mullet?
It's the mullet. That's the thing that's.
There's one of him on the beach. He looks like.
Oh, yeah, without
this
the
is
shirt on, looking to the
1989.
side.
This is like what hot was.
That's what.
That's a guy I want to.
He was the Emily Ratajkowski of that
He
time.
was the Emily Ratajkowski of Connecticut.
Yeah, I want to go out to the bars with Tom Thibodeau.
In New Britain, Connecticut. Watch out, y'all.
I can't imagine him doing anything but watching film. And by the way, I don't think that's working.
Tom Thibodeau in this picture, he looks like an extra in The Godfather 2.
One of the greatest sequels of all time, as we already determined.
This bare-chested picture.
Either way.
Do you think he's out there? He doesn't know. He's single, but you never hear.
That man is grinding tape right now.
How did you know that? Is he divorced?
No, he was engaged once, but he was literally too in love with the game that he couldn't marry.
He's saving a woman then, because you don't want to compete.
Tom Thibodeau is grinding tape 24/7.
I know, but is it working?
No.
He didn't realize that, Miles McBride should probably be playing a few more minutes.
Still thinks Josh Hart needs to play 40 minutes, despite taking him out of the starting lineup.
He's already hard.
I don't know.
Anything else?
Tibbs and Bridges involved in this 130-121 loss last night. Knicks in a 3-1 hole, something only 13 teams have climbed out of in NBA history. Now, specifically last night, the Knicks had no answer for Tyrese Haliburton, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, the third player ever with a 30-10-15 playoff game, joining Nikola Jokic and Oscar Robertson. Head coach Rick Carlisle, fingers crossed this is him, kind of happy for his guard.
Happy for him. It'll get celebrated on all the networks and stuff like that. But in our world right now, it's day 7 of 13, and tomorrow's day 8. And we've got to just keep our eye on the ball and keep focusing on each day.
And tomorrow's day 9, which means game 5 at the Garden. Corey Perry scored a tie-breaking power play goal mid-second period. The Oilers, tacking on 2 empty netters, beat the Stars 4-1 for a 3-1 lead in hockey's West Final. Baseball last night, 2 teams rallying from a 6-0 hole to win. The Padres down the Marlins 8-6. Pittsburgh got a 9-6 win in Arizona. And Paige Beckers has her first WNBA victory, and it came back in Connecticut. Beckers 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists in the Wings' 109-87 win over the Sun. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Okay, Kid Mero is going to be joining us in just a moment. So he's become his own New York legend as far as a comedian, a Knicks fan. He sold out Madison Square Garden before as a performer and all of that. So we're doing our Mount Olympus, the 4 sports gods of every sports city, and we kicked it off with New York. So it feels a little like a New Yorkie show today because the Knicks played last night too. But tomorrow we do Detroit, and Friday we're doing Cleveland.
It'd be a fun city because I'm thinking of your drought buster. If Connor McDavid can win this title for Edmonton, does he get into the... Now, if you're doing Edmonton and you have a non-Oiler, I'd be very impressed.
Yeah, what are your other options?
CFL?
Yeah, CFL legend.
yeah. I don't know. You don't have any other, but...
We are doing Toronto.
I was thinking about you. You're the drought buster is alive with your Edmonton Oilers. Of course, I think they went to 7 games last year against Florida, right?
Did it go 7? I don't remember.
I think it did, and Edmonton ran out of gas, but it's exciting.
Okay, let's get to our guest. He is the Kid Mero. He's absolutely one of our favorites. He's a New York Times best-selling author, as I mentioned before. He is also splitting his time now between 2 amazing shows, one called Victory Light, the other 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, which he does with Carmelo Anthony. He sold out Madison Square Garden before. There's no one better to talk New York sports with than the Kid Mero, who's joining us now. Mero, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Maggie, thank you for having me. This is great. I just had coffee, Bustelo, you know what I'm saying? So I am on 130 miles an hour this morning. I'm ready to go.
Well, you could probably cover Tyrese Haliburton a little bit better than Bridges last night. First, let's go through that game. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to land that harsh, but you're watching last night's game and what's going through your mind?
So what was going through my mind was I have faith in the Knicks. I've said this before. I got faith in the Knicks because the Knicks, I'm sorry, the guy outside is using the weed whacker right outside the window. That's a horrible, terrible timing. So the Knicks haven't had a guy that I feel confident having the ball down 2, down 1, 10 seconds left, 1 possession game since Carmelo ended. Right? Yeah. So Jalen Brunson comes on the scene, and he is like the closer. He's the guy. When the game is on the line, clear out, let Jalen cook. Then we got another guy in Karl Anthony Towns, who's like another dude who's just like, yo, this guy is a star. He makes things happen. Supremely confident. Throughout the playoffs, I knew we were going to be Boston. I'm not saying that because hindsight is 2020. I just knew in my mind that said we are taking Boston out. They chuck threes. They don't like the defense is not where it's supposed to be. Kristaps has the flu. I'm very familiar with KP as a Knicks fan, and he is fragile. So I was like, we got the Celtics. The Detroit was a test, you know. So how do I say this? I felt like we should be up 3-1 as opposed to be down 3-1 right now.
Mero, we haven't met. I'm Andrew Perloff, Maggie's co-host. Maggie yesterday said we got to get Mero on because the Knicks are going to win last night. So she kind of jinxed this.
Oh, come on.
She jinxed the whole thing.
Well, people were calling me jinx because I did like some pre-game hype stuff like, yo, let's go, Knicks in 6. And they were like, Mero, get out of here. Don't ever tell me. You did it last year with the World Series. You went on with the Talking Yanks guys, and they lost. I was like, that was not my fault. That was Aaron Judge's fault for taking his eye off the ball. Which, if I am coaching my 10U team and you take your eye off the ball to try to turn a double play, you're getting benched. Okay? So, listen, that's a separate conversation with Aaron Boone. We're here to talk Knicks, so I feel like.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, though, because you have been this guy, as I mentioned, you've sold out Madison Square Garden before. You understand the magic of the building, and we talk about the celebrities that are there. You are one of those people who's sitting courtside, and you get the cameras on you. Here was Pat McAfee from last night. We're going to play you a clip. This happened in one of the commercial breaks, and here is the sports talk show host calling out the New York celebrities who were in Indianapolis last night.
Indianapolis, Indiana. We got some big wigs from the big city in the building. Spike Lee is here. Ben Stiller is here. Tyrese Haliburton is here. Let's send these sons of back to New York.
Okay, you notice actually still a few cheers for Chalamet. That must have been the women in the building, but mixed. But okay, so as far as, we got Reggie Miller choke, you got LJ 4-point play, you've got Haliburton now with the back iron. You've got all these moments between Knicks Pacers. Where does now McAfee's rant, does it play into the rivalry, this historic rivalry between the two teams?
It does not. You know why? Because that was a reach. That he was trying. Reggie Miller doing the choke thing, that was an organic moment. That insane back iron in the air for 20,000 seconds shot was a moment. You know what I mean? These are moments. They happen organically, guys. You know what I'm saying? You can't force a moment. I feel like they produced that. There was a producer with an IVF, all right, Pat, all right, you got me? All right, Pat, listen, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna make fun of Ben Stiller first, okay? Yeah, even though Severance was great, you're gonna make fun of Ben Stiller. You're gonna say something about Timothy Chalamet. I don't know, wearing Timberland boots or something. Do something like that. This was their Super Bowl, yo. You are the punter for the Colts, gang. You are more well known as a podcaster than as an athlete. What are you doing? This was like Hulkamania running wild in Indiana, bro. This is why we fly over your state, bro. We don't land there and go there and vacation there. That's why we fly over on our way to other places. You know what I'm saying? So, Pat, you could keep all that. You know what I'm saying? Knicks in 7. Get out of here. This is the Pacers championship. The Eastern Conference Finals has been and always will be the Larry O'Brien for the Indiana Pacers. I'm sorry, Indiana. I'm sorry, the ghost of Michael Jackson. I'm sorry, anybody else from Indiana. Freddie Gibbs. I can't even think of anybody else. I'm sorry, Indiana. But this is and will be your championship forever. It doesn't matter how great you draft, who you sign. Nobody is coming to play in Indiana. To quote the great Joakim Noah, as outside of, I'm not talking about Cleveland, talking about Indiana. What's so great about Indiana? Has anybody ever said, I'm going on vacation to Indiana? The answer is no, unless you live in Indiana or unless you're going to go visit, I don't know, the first KFC that Michael Jackson ever went to, or, you know what I'm saying, the first glove store that he ever visited. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason that you're going to Indiana. They did the All-Star game in Indiana, and they had to put a basketball court in the airport to remind people that the All-Star game was happening there because nobody cares. Nobody cares. This is New York City. This is New York City, guys. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are familiar. You guys are New York media people. You understand? This is a huge market. Indiana it's like Little Mac in Super Punch-Out. Like, guy, you're not. You're Indiana. Be Indiana, okay? Every time they cut to the crowd, it was an abomination.
Oh.
There was nobody on that camera that I wanted to see. It was a bunch of people that probably do shoeies at Little League games, okay? Stop it, America. We can't do this. Everybody wanted Knicks Wolves in the finals. Now we're gonna have to watch Oklahoma City versus Indiana. That's terrible for the game. You know what I'm saying? But at least the Yankees won. You know what I'm saying? And Aaron Judge is putting up video game numbers, so I'm happy.
God, I don't know why people have problems with New York fans. We are nationwide.
We're passionate.
Yeah, that's one way for it. The kid Mero's joining us. Mero, of course, the New York Times bestselling author. Obviously, he's a comedian. Of course, one of the funniest people that we know. And he's got 2 podcasts now that he's working on. So he's got Victory Light and 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. Now, we got to get to one of the big reasons why we wanted to have you on today, where he's launched this new summer sort of, I don't know, it's like it's a passion project, really.
Yes.
It's called the Maggie and Perloff Mount Olympus. We're trying to find the 4 sports gods of every great sports city in the United States and parts of Canada, because we're on there too. We kicked it off with New York because obviously we got to start with the biggest market. So can we have your 4 sports gods of New York City?
Of New York, 4 sports gods of New York City. I am a 40-year-old man. Bear that in mind. I am going all time as a 40-year-old man. All right, I'm not going all time as a guy who saw Clyde in the Garden. Okay, I am 40. Okay, so first, this gentleman right here, my Lord and Savior, Jeter Christ. You know what I'm saying? Derek Jeter.
Yep.
Captain, my captain, the beautiful biracial angel. Followed by my Jamaican uncle, pride of the West Indies, you know, pride of Jamaica, Patrick Ewing, you know. Those are my top 2. Then I'm going to get a little bit more modern and say my Knicks fanhood was rejuvenated by, and I'm not just saying this because we're co-hosts, by Carmelo Anthony and joining the New York Knicks. That's my 3rd. And my 4th, I'm going to keep it modern, is the new captain, basically the guy that's taking baseball to new heights. It's Aaron Expletive Judge. Those are my 4 guys.
Hey, Mero, our producer, EJ Stewart, says Jalen Brunson could easily pass Patrick Ewing soon on that list. Can you buy that?
I like I said, I'm a 40-year-old man. It's very hard for me to say that because I watched Pat do it by himself for a long time. You know what I mean? And like battle like the inevitability of Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like for years. So as a kid, listen, there's nobody that's more passionate and lives and dies on their sports teams than junior high school kids. And as a junior high school kid, in 1994, I remember the Daily News being like, yo, the Rangers won. It had the big 1940, and it had the 1 and the 0 crossed out, and it was like 94. This is our year. Mark Messier, he did it. The Rangers did it. And I was never even a hockey guy, but I was just like, listen, in my little 5th grade brain, it was like, yo, the Rangers won, and they play in the Garden, so the Knicks play in the Garden, and they're going to win, because that's the way it works, because life is a Disney movie. You know what I'm saying? And then my soul was crushed. You know what I'm saying? Because Pat didn't dunk it instead of laying it up, and John went 2 for 3,000 in one game. But he dunked on Jordan, and I got the poster, so it was all worth it.
Mero, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. You are the best. Jeter, Ewing, Melo, Judge. We love listening to you with Melo. He's the coolest person probably alive. I mean, he really is. And we understand you also have a children's book that you're writing now. I know you're a proud parent. Makes your way into a lot of your material. It's fantastic. Yes. We're like your biggest fans. Thank you so much for doing this, and just like continued success. And hopefully the Knicks turn this around for you.
My guys, M&P, let's go. I love you guys, man. Thank you for having me on.
Mero, thank you, Kid Mero, so you can listen to him and watch him. Victory Lights and 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. He's sold out the Garden before. He's got a new kids book that's going to be coming out. He's a New York Times bestselling author already, award-winning comedian.
Oh, my God.
The man.
Great argument for those 4. Wouldn't be my 4, but I loved it.
And take that, Pat McAfee. It's on now. Love it. Okay, coming up next, lots more to do, including we'll tell you what the rest of the schedule for the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff is going to look like as we crisscross this great nation, finding the 4 best sports gods of every sports city. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Says it's shady, but I swear on my Oh, Shep had a vision. He thought he was grand, thought LeBron would pick up, thought he'd make a stand. But the Lakers saw his email and let out a sigh. Is this guy for real? He must be high. Did you think you'd book the king on your weekend overnight thing? Bro, he's got rings, a yacht and a jet. You've got 3 insomniacs and 1 drug Mets fan named Chet. Shep, are you serious? Did you hit your head? This ass was worse than a Knicks fan's dread. Maggie and Perloff can't stop their laughs. Rich Eisen staff make memes in your behalf. Zach Geld nearly dropped his mic. Reader said, man, this can't be life. Even Bogusch, who never reacts, just sent a text, cheats on crack. LeBron's got meetings, got billion-dollar deals. You're begging for airtime with 5 out-of-needle deals. Shep, how did this idea take flight? LeBron doesn't know you, he barely knows midnight. This is getting set dead, and you're in dollar deals. You're begging for airtime with 5 out-of-needle deals. Shep, how did this idea take flight? LeBron doesn't know you, he barely knows midnight. You got rejected and you're feeling slighted. Dude, the Lakers PR team was so excited. They took screenshots, they sent it around. You guys won't believe this insane clown. Shep, are you serious? Did you hit your...
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. If you missed the kid Mero, comedian from New York, clapping back at Pat McAfee, who was calling out the New York celebrities who were in Indianapolis last night. That was an all-time rant.
Yeah, I do not endorse that. I mean, he is incredibly funny, but that was probably wouldn't go over well in 48 states out of 50.
We love our friends in Indianapolis. It's all jokes, and they're the ones who probably will get the last laugh. Meanwhile, let's turn to our pal Sal Licata, who's joining us from WFAN, midday host, also a star on SNY. If you are going to do your Mount Olympus of New York sports athletes, and again, we're just starting with New York. Tomorrow we're doing Detroit. Right. Friday is Cleveland. Thank you for coming on. Who are the 4 sports gods of New York City?
Okay, I'm only going based off of my lifetime, so I have to eliminate some people based off of that.
Okay.
I think the unequivocal, no doubt, Patrick Ewing, in no particular order, Mark Messier, Derek Jeter. The 4th was a little challenging for me. I thought about Eli because of the 2 Super Bowl runs, thought about LT because of he's LT, but I kind of took those 2 out. Eli wasn't great. LT a little bit before my time. I have to put Aaron Judge in there.
Wow.
Aaron Judge is the best baseball player that I've ever seen. If I'm going based off of winning, Eli probably gets it. If I'm going a little bit further than my viewing, LT's got to be on there. But if I have Ewing in and he didn't win a championship, and I think Judge is the best baseball player I've ever seen, I am putting Judge, Jeter, Messier, Ewing.
I'm really surprised, though. I'm going to be surprised for one reason. Not because you're a homer in any way, but you are a big Mets fan.
Yeah. Well, who's the Met you could put on there?
DeGrom.
Jacob DeGrom for winning what?
Yeah, Jacob
Cy Youngs. I mean, Judge has won MVPs. They both got to the same exact spot. They got to the World Series. They lost. And listen, DeGrom lost to the Royals and Judge lost to the Dodgers. Maybe it's a little different because the opponent, but that was a good Royals team. I just think that I don't know if I'd even go with a different Met before I'd go with Aaron Judge.
I'd be lying to you if I said DeGrom even crossed my mind. And I thought about the Mets.
Because he didn't like New York.
No, just I can't put him on. Like, when he was at his best, maybe the best pitcher I've ever seen. And he did it for a few years. Yeah. I get it. I just can't put him up. We're talking about, like, I left LT off my list. I left Eli Manning off my list. I left Mariano Rivera off my list. I'd go Piazza before I go DeGrom. Okay. But I couldn't.
Oh, yeah. But you can't just do people you saw. I mean, you could enjoy Beethoven. You didn't see it. I mean, like...
Yeah. Well, I had to narrow it down.
That feels like a cheat code.
It's not a... Okay, well, then I'll go LT. I mean, but are we going to go Babe Ruth? Are we going to go Walt Clyde Frazier over Ewing? Like,
that's who Maggie and I went with.
Yes. But you didn't see him play. How are you going to put him on there?
Because I didn't see a lot of things, and I know they were great.
So, Perloff and I both had Ruth, and we both had LT. I had George Steinbrenner and Walt Frazier.
Okay.
So I think Steinbrenner is the moment the Yankees turn heel. And from
So why does that get you on the Olympus?
Well, because he created an ethos, the evil empire. You know, people loved Mantle. They loved DiMaggio. They started to hate the Yankees when it was Steinbrenner. And I think that you can't tell the story of New York sports without George Steinbrenner.
I said Mantle and DiMaggio.
Neither of you had Messier on your list? He's got to be on there. Well, he comes to New York. He ends a 54-year drought. Yeah. Guarantees a game they win.
He's already on my Edmonton list, though.
Okay.
That's for later in the summer. Sal, we got to leave it there.
Thank you, guys.
Go do the midday show on WFAN. You can listen to more of Sal's rants and raves. You can also watch him on SNY. He does such a great job talking all things New York baseball.
Jacob DeGrom.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you, Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, the Kid Mero, Sal Licata, and you guys on the phones. See you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.